Welcome to Fit Club Vegas, the ultimate fitness destination for visitors. Drop in for a day pass and experience our 10,000 square foot fitness playground. At Fit Club, you'll find state-of-the-art equipment and a sound system so good you'll pitch your headphones. Conveniently located 7 to 12 minutes from the Las Vegas Strip, Fit Club is a perfect spot for you to come get your pump while visiting Sin City. So come check us out at 4525 West Hacienda, Las Vegas, Nevada. Fit Club Vegas, more than a gym, it's a vibe.
Maybe they do. We'll just say that.
Are you ready?
You didn't earn.
You're doing an
no
intro.
earning. What's the intro?
I don't know. 7-time
Cutler.
Mr. No Earner. Yeah. Mr. Demonetization.
It's good to have you back, but
There you go.
we just said you couldn't curse in the first whatever.
Yeah, so there you go. Start.
Yeah, Phil got us demonetized.
My bad.
It was just right off the cuff, like,
We had no clue. Like, it was all of a
Well,
sudden.
it's not like we would know.
No, like a month into it, all of a sudden I get an email. This podcast has been flagged. I look, and it was yours.
all
And I
the
was like,
speaking you do around the world as a keynote speaker, as an analyst, as a person on your lives every day, and to think that you got demonetized on the Cutler cast the first time you came on.
Yeah, I won again.
he did that shit on purpose. He's probably like,
I'm the private hater. Y'all didn't pay me. No one makes any money.
getting no money. No one's getting money.
Dude, I feel bad now, man. But yeah,
No,
that's a valuable lesson.
Listen, that's why we're broke around here. We're trying to make up for it.
So big shout out to Phil Heath is
All right.
back in the house. 7-time Mr. O. Is
Yes,
that,
sir.
Should I say 7? I mean, we
Man,
just left the Arnold Classic.
we
I
just-
can talk about Arnold Classic
Bro,
champion or
No, just that dude that
analyst.
wants, kind of a jack of all at this point. I'm doing the rounds, being happy that I'm not competing. So no more $500,000 talk.
When
None of this
you-
shit.
When you watched this Arnold Classic, I mean, I was back. I saw your room over there.
Yeah.
Did it bring back any memories of the challenges you went through? Or, I mean, to see Derek come back and
Yeah, that was
win it after beat Mr. Olympia, which hadn't been done since 2001, the year I almost won the Olympia after he did the show and came in his best shape ever, Ronnie Coleman. That was a long spread of, now we know why Mr. Olympia only does Mr.
Yeah.
Olympia.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we've been on tour, with Ronnie, and that was one of the things that he would talk about a lot is that,
Always.
like, you should never do it because when I did it, I didn't come in right at the Olympia. My whole body was wrecked. And, I still say shout out to Samson Dowda for actually doing, the Arnold Classic, not just the one in Columbus, but the one in the UK last year and then going into the Olympia. I mean, and then he did a show prior to the Olympia.
He
Like,
did
a
France.
couple weeks out.
France.
Yeah. So he did France. So he did 4 shows like that. And then he turned around, tells me, I'm going to keep it going. I'm like, okay. And then, he put his title, on the line and just said, you know what, I'm here to win the Arnold Classic. And unfortunately he had to face top of the top of Derek Lunsford, and shout out to Derek too, because of course he endured a lot of different adversity. When your trainer decides to retire, you have to go somewhere else. Right. And then, new sponsors, there's a lot of things that go on in a man's life. And to top it all off, he just came off of that 3rd place showing at the
His
Olympia.
grandmother issue.
That's right. So it's a lot of
Dedicated
person.
it, yeah.
You got to give the guy a lot of credit. I mean, and the mental fortitude the person has to have, and the belief system, the environment that you have to be in. I mean, that. I mean,
The headspace is just, it's a crazy place. I always talk about that dark place you need to go those last 4 weeks especially.
Yeah.
And I know, talking to Chris Aceto, who trained him for the show, he said the last 6 were pretty torturous for him because they waited because of the leg issue back at the Olympia.
Mm-hmm.
They want to improve the leg size. And who thought in 15 weeks he would improve his leg size? Who's really done that, Phil, in that
short period of time. I can't say I've seen it, but I think kudos to Chris. He's been able to figure out the right game plan, brought him in bigger, and I'd say just as hard. Derek is known for, if you look at his last 2 years at the Olympia, he's the guy that actually improves as prejudging goes. So with the added size, it actually benefited him because no one was going to really outcondition Derek, especially in that lineup. So it was to his advantage. I'm still kind of shocked, but you know, I'm happy for him because, like we just mentioned, like when you go through that, you know, that loss and you know you're angry, and he told me, he was like, yeah, I was angry, and I'm like, good, like you can admit it. Like first thing that I wanted to hear from him is that it bothered him, because when you try to walk around like nothing bothers you, it's like, are you really being purely authentic? It's okay to be upset. What's not okay is that you just wallow in it. And, you know, I still remember when you lost in '08, we talked in your damn BMW, that SUV, after, where were you? I think we went to have sushi and shit over at Katsuya's.
Yeah.
And we just talked for like 3 hours, man. And you were like up and down about like what your future was. And then you committed like, all right, I'm going to do this. And I think Derek probably had to have one of those long conversations with his wife and with one of his friends.
I think I was one of the strongest mentality. So for me to doubt myself,
Yeah,
I was at that point because so many people around me were. But, you know, Samson, the thing is Samson, like you said, I'm going to keep rolling with this. Yep. He actually is improving, Phil. That's the thing is like, yes, the condition because Derek came in sharper.
Yep.
But it's all circumstance who you're up against. And if someone has the ability to, like, and we knew Hottie wasn't there,
yes,
but who would have thought Derek would come back like that? Like, if you put a list of people together, all of us, we're all considered critics because we do this podcast, we talked about it. We were kind of like, okay, he's Mr. Olympia. He's not going to lose.
Right.
So for Derek to come in and win, I mean, but Samson still is improving size-wise. I feel like his body, we said this, does he have the best physique in the IFBB right now as far as physique-wise?
I mean,
like body part to body part flow.
I think the flow for sure. Yeah, I think because you can't tell me another guy that is as round and has like even the separation of his quads the way he does. Does he have like the best back in the world? I mean, next to Derek, probably not, but like
he needs to improve the back.
He needs to improve that tremendously.
But he is improving.
But he is. And I think the only other thing he needs to focus on is just get harder. Like, I don't see him as hard as Derek. And when I think of winning, I think of like dominating. For Samson, he's not dominating because he hasn't figured out like those problem areas. Like even with the hamstrings, which I thought were improved. I'm with you. Like I was calling the live stream and what I saw on that screen, because I was not sitting up front, his legs did improve. I just think that maybe it could have been a timing issue. I still felt like he improved from Friday to Saturday, but it just wasn't enough. Also just the posing. I think when he was able to do like, let's say back double bicep, I watch how he sets it up and he kicks that left leg back. He sets it. And then when he does a back lat spread, he brings the leg back and then brings the leg back. But when he would bring the leg back up and then change to the right, he looked better. And I was like, oh shit, like he should just do that. So that's what I mean by like styles make fights. Like when you're standing next to a certain person, like maybe you do need to look over the video and say, okay, next time I'm standing next to someone like Derek, maybe I try this next time. But look, like you got to go through every different permutation of like who I'm going to be standing next to. Is it a Nick Walker next time? Is it a Hottie? Maybe you need to change how you pose. But overall, I believe that Samson shouldn't hang his head. I actually hit him up. I was like, look, man, like you shouldn't hang your head, man. Like you showed a lot of courage to actually do that. I wouldn't have done that. You know, I won the Olympia and said, okay, actually F that. If they were doing $500,000,
$500K,
I would have been like, y'all got to pay, you know, like meaning like I'm gonna whoop y'all ass. But
yeah, but you were winning 400, so close
at
enough.
the very end.
No, you won a lot of 400s. He was the highest.
Wasn't it like the half?
I mean, were you threatened by Samson beating your? You have the record right now.
Oh, for most prize money.
Were you concerned? I mean, he was.
I wasn't even thinking about that. To be quite honest, like as competitive as I am, like
that was 1.1 over 6 months. I mean, that would have been a
big
leap towards what you won.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about money like that. I guess
we never rounded up what Phil won, did we?
No.
Did you win?
Derek's is up there now too, though.
Derek's up there. I mean,
that 500, 500, and
my record will be gone like within a year.
Eventually, someone's going to get $1 million at a show.
Yeah, it'll be gone. Because
is Samson a guy though, Phil? Do you think he's a guy that we're going to keep talking about conditioning, or do you think he's just going to come in and figure out the formula in one shot and just does he have the capability to get shredded and hold massive size?
I think you guys probably know that better than I do because of your relationship with Milos and what they were doing before. Not that he's doing that currently, but also the fact that that's been like his base. He just now started working without him. So when you're pressured, you're going to probably revert back to old things, even with your new coach, right? The elephant in the room is that he's got to come in harder, in my opinion. He's got to be splintered through the chest. He's got to have more conditioning. He can't fade, but can he do it? I don't know what he's currently doing.
Can I share our secret? Because you and I did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We did step mill twice a day.
Oh, yeah.
For 45 minutes, I did.
Yep.
And we did fish. How many meals a day?
He ain't gonna
white
wait.
fish.
Okay, so
wait, because you and I would have these conversations.
Yeah.
So let's spill a little bit of background to what our conversations would be as we were continuing prep together.
Dude, yeah.
Those fish meals and that suffering, those last 6
These guys
weeks,
have no
Phil,
idea. They have no idea.
that was hell.
Yeah.
Those step mill in the morning, 45, fasted.
See how I'm like biting my lip right now? Because I'm like, mother.
You know what it took to get in that shape, but you know what? You know when you hit that rhythm and it was like you saw the condition change by the day. But those fish meals, I argued with Milos on this podcast. He doesn't believe in fish, right? I still think it really, if I didn't do it, I wouldn't be able to say out of experience.
Yeah,
I think it made a huge difference for me.
I agree. I mean,
and the step mill made a huge difference for me.
I think step mill made a huge difference for all of us. I mean, even Ronnie Coleman, like when he started doing it, like he was able to compete at a higher weight because of him being able to casually walk on that step mill. Anyone that is watching old videos, especially Jay Cutler videos, you have to watch him doing a step mill. When you're wearing those shorts and you can see the quads actually be developed, you don't have to go super fast on the step mill. I think that's where people get it messed up. And you also, now that we're giving out all these secrets, you guys got to stop leaning on the damn machine the whole time, because when you got 60% of your body weight on the machine, you really think you're getting the glutes and hamstrings the way they're supposed to? Maybe you are, but you're missing the quad. No one wants to suffer. I mean, I think we all know that. And it's not a shot at anybody. It's just a reality of it. When Rami won his first Olympia, he suffered. We all know, right? Samson has suffered in a way, but the level of suffering that we did, that even Kai did, far greater. I don't think anyone in the IFBB wants to do what we did. And that's probably because of coaches maybe believing that their client doesn't have to because they can figure out some other protocol. I think majority of coaches have just tried to gamify the protocols to where their guy doesn't have to suffer like that. That's why you're seeing guys compete at a higher weight, but they're not shredded.
Cheat days didn't exist, right? Very rarely, if you needed it, but like these weekly cheat meals.
On these two hands, this is how many cheat meals I probably had in my entire Olympia run. And people would be like, BS, because you love freaking burgers. Hell yeah, I do. But I did not do that because whether I was competing against you or Kai or Dennis or Victor or Dexter or Roden, like whoever, I would not do it because I could always increase my carbs through like an extra sweet potato, maybe a baked potato. Maybe I put butter on it for once. Maybe I had another steak meal. These guys, I don't want to call them out because I don't know what they do, but it's pretty well apparent in their physique that they're not getting that thin skin because of the diet. And maybe it's an overindulgence in, carbs and what they take, like PD wise, I do. And with Milos, like, I don't understand, like, okay, his stance is what it is. Why wouldn't he just be an open mind? Because this is a guy that's a very much of a free thinker. Why not even say, you know what, maybe I do look at it.
Ronnie Coleman didn't eat fish, so like,
but
we
that's
consider.
An anomaly, dude.
I know.
He's a freak.
I understand that. So I wanted to say, so reverse back. Like, listen, I don't think my genetics were as solid as yours with the way the skin sat over the muscle. I feel like you were very, like, we talk about this. We talk about this all the time. Phil Heath. When's the next Phil Heath going to come along? It's probably not going to happen.
No, he's playing football on Sundays.
Yeah,
like
that's probably true.
Or he's going in another division.
Correct.
Because people don't
for too long.
Yes.
Yes. So you want to know what I thought about the Arnold Classic? When I was looking at all these divisions, I said to myself, I guarantee you there's a person probably watching this. It's probably going to be the next me that is thinking I can only do these other divisions. And
why?
Because of the limiting belief systems, man. You know how many expos I go to? I mean, I'm sure you do the same.
What division you doing? No one's doing
and they don't want to do it because it's not sensational. Like you got Bumstead, you got now Sam Sulik, you got these guys that have a lot of, influence. Hey, if I was 18, maybe I'd want to do the same thing as them. It just looks cooler online. So, I think a lot of people probably gravitate toward it because of the following on YouTube. Whereas, open class bodybuilder, they'll say, oh, well, I want to be that big. Yeah, you do. They all want to be big. Even the freaking classic guys want to be bigger, because if they didn't, they would demand that the weight cap stay the same as what it was 5 years ago. You wouldn't want it to go up, but you want it to go up because you want to be bigger. But, I think there's an opportunity for more youth to do open if they realize that, especially after this Arnold Classic. I mean, you got some guys that are really upset at the prize money and stuff. I'm like, well, why don't you do open then? Get paid a shit ton of money. I think
I kind of had the conversation with someone earlier. If you don't like where the money's at, grow into the class where the money is.
Bro, if I had to do it all over again, I'm tell you right now, I'm doing open, because if I'm going to put myself through all this stress, I'm not going to get paid what I could get paid being a school teacher. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just keeping it real. And we have to talk about, if we had like a whiteboard or something, we could murder board this out about the ROI within a person that competes. What is the return on investment for a person that wants to be a professional bodybuilder? That person that decides to do certain divisions, if it isn't for sponsorships, you're probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
And you're doing primarily the same work. Same cardio. You're going to the gym every day. You're still dieting.
Working hard.
You're still taking a ton of gear. I don't care what they say.
Oh, I'm assuming that everybody trains hard. Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and say that, just because they look a certain way. Look, like some guys just can't grow legs. Some guys just can't grow arms. Some guys can't grow calves.
It's same in open bodybuilding. And guess what?
Absolutely.
They don't win the biggest shows.
But look, I think we're at a point now where we're reverting back to like, where's the next Phil Heath? I definitely believe that person's doing a different sport. He's probably making a ton of money, playing football, like a Saquon Barkley type of kid. He's probably playing, running back for SEC school, getting an NIL deal worth millions of dollars. It's up to the point where that person decides, hey, I want to try this other sport. They will see it. I would love to see it. I'm kind of in the same position like a Ronnie Coleman would say, like, oh, records are meant to be broken. I'm comfortable seeing someone that I'm like, holy smokes, like, I would love for us to, like, as Mr. Olympias, to be like, you see this kid? Because I know that you and I believe in helping these up and comers. I would love to be able to help that person, but I currently don't see them. And it is unfortunate, but look, like in all sports, like you go through those down years, and I want to clarify, we're not in a down year. We're just not having a certain talent pool. Like in the 90s, you had a talent pool of like the LeBrons, Cormier, Flex, and then there wasn't a talent pool. And then there was like a different talent pool with Jay and Dexter and Branch. And, like the talent pool right now is just different bodybuilders that you're not going to see another Rami. He's probably not going to compete anymore, right? He's done, right? I'm not coming back. There's no Masters Olympia for me. I might train Kai, though. I might train Kai.
Really?
Yeah, I'd do it.
I think you should.
We got to work on his posing. No. He eats fish.
Of course.
He ate a lot.
I don't think we're going to see another Phil, because when you came up, you just trained.
Social media killed it.
Social media killed it because now the guys that 18 years old think, I need to take this drug, drugs that you didn't even know about until you were already a seasoned pro. You couldn't afford them.
Yeah, but he still didn't know.
No,
because I remember having conversations and like, Phil, and he's
but
like,
the
what
difference
is
is now you go find a 19-year-old kid competing, and he took everything that you took when you were 270.
Look, guys are probably doing more than what I did
for sure
for my Olympia run.
For sure.
Now, genetics, my genetics probably played a huge role in that, because being a hyper responder. Look, like I can sit up here and tell everybody, like, if you look at my pictures from the 07 Arnold and the 08 Arnold, the difference was that I tried growth for the first time. I was already a pro. I already won the USA. I already won 2 pro shows. I got 5th at my first Arnold Classic. And then I was like, all right, what do I need to do? And I was like, I guess I should dabble in that. So I did. And I remember Jay hit me up. I guest posed in the East Coast, and Jay was like, dude, how much you fucking weigh? And I was like, 268. He was like, damn, dude, you're like round like as hell. You remember that? And I'm like, I decided to do this. He was like, oh crap. but that's the thing that we're not seeing. We're not seeing people kind of
grow into a pro career,
because there's no such thing as delayed gratification in the sport. You know, when and you brought up a good point, Jay. I mean, social media did mess that up. There is no nostalgia. You can't even like be off season. And God bless these guys that are competing, man, because, you know, they probably feel like they always have to be on all the time because of how someone looks at them on the phone. You can't be walking around here 300 pounds when you should be 280. Like, you know what I mean? And then having to be ripped all the time. And because the bodybuilders are competing against micro influencers. And I think that's not fair. You know, like we'll validate a micro influencer more than a Mr. Olympia sometimes. And I mean, look, like that's just, I'm always going to be biased toward the guys that compete because I understand the sacrifice that goes into it. Not to say that the other people don't have their trauma and they're working through it and they're trying to transform their bodies, but it's another thing, man, when you make a decision, you say, you know what, I'm going to be a pro bodybuilder and I'm going to do something great. And that greatness is to be the best in the world. And you're going against guys that are wanting the same damn thing. And there is no mirror in front of you. There is no filter. It is harsh lighting and tan and oil on your skin. And you will get freaking exposed on that stage. And you cannot play around. Oh, I want to compete. No, you want to compete. I mean, even Sam Solik, like shout out to him. Like he got his ass up there, and he learned a lot. And I was so happy for him, because now he has a much greater understanding as to what it is really like. And the more he competes with better competition, he's going to see like, whoa, this ain't no joke. Like I may have thought I was the man, and then because we all thought like that. I remember thinking I was the man when I went to USA until I went to my first Arnold. I remember first Arnold, I was like, these guys are way bigger, bro. Like I didn't understand what a Dexter Jackson at 230 pounds looked like until I'm standing next to him. Like I'm 216, and I'm getting my ass whooped. Like but yeah, the delayed gratification in social media I think has made it very difficult for people to even understand what their natural bodies can do.
I think you were in the Twitter era.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to be heavy on Twitter, but you didn't have as much, like, people weren't looking at the images all day long. Like when you post, I remember when Instagram started this whole thing, and it's like even before video or storylines, and you just had memories on there, right? It was kind of similar to Facebook. But, you spent a lot of empty nights inside that gym in Colorado, Armburst Gym.
Yep.
And who was motivating you to train like you did? I mean, you didn't have training partners. What enticed you to go in there so late every night and push yourself? And that was pretty much all the time. And you said you were avoiding crowds at that point, correct?
Yeah, but I think it was more importantly of, look, you got to go for what you're most comfortable with. And me growing up as an only child, I spent a lot of time by myself, right? So being in an empty gym, just shooting buckets, shooting baskets, I felt very peaceful. Was I getting pushed, back then? No, I had to push myself. And in the gym, I just feel like I could push myself in the gym. And who did I look up to? I looked up to you. You trained late too. If I came out here, there was times we go to freaking Decatur and we'd be training late,
Yeah.
And I was like watching your videos, like, oh, you train late. And
was it because of the food, or like, I know your body's crazy, your metabolism. So did you need a certain amount of food to feel like you went in the gym and the work was done?
Oh yeah. Well,
like
not at first,
meals.
Not at first. Like I think after my third meal, I could go train. Like,
okay.
I think you give me 3 meals, I can go kill it and really look the part. I just think, being by myself, I could just do whatever I wanted, man. Like, like who wouldn't want their own gym? I could play whatever music I want. I can.
Who else was in there with you?
No one.
Just no other people training, correct?
No one could be in there.
You had a key to the gym.
Yeah,
I went in there a couple times.
Yeah,
you did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
We go late at night. It was like midnight,
and you'd watch me in there screaming.
So what time would you usually train, Phil? What time was
11 o'clock?
Or was it 11?
Well, we get there around like
6:30,
11.
and I remember all the lights were never turned on. Just certain ones, because then people would see the gym was open. It wasn't open.
People start.
So you only put a couple lights on in the room, and then you kind of train. It wasn't like dark, but it wasn't bright. It was just like spotlights around, and you'd grab the weights and just almost train in the dark.
And you train pretty angry. We talk about that a lot.
Yeah,
you posted a great video the other day of you doing music with the weights.
Yeah, girl.
And when you posted it, it brought me back to, like, that's Phil.
Yeah.
Like, I remember we had a lot of fun training. Like, as serious as we were.
Yeah.
And, like, we'd get onto that weight, and, like, the whole mood would change, right?
Yeah.
The mindset would just be, like, it block out anything we just laughed about.
Yep.
Because it's, like, you got into the weights. Like, think about now being behind the cameras and everything else. It's so much harder to do now, like, the phones and...
I couldn't do it, man. I was literally, I was on a podcast with Misha Tate, and we were talking about finding solace. And she was like, people are so disconnected that people always have to have their phones with them. They always have to have a device with them. She was talking about like how fighters always have to have music on. She's like, why do you always have to have music on? Well, I have to have it. She's like, but you're not going to have music on when you're fighting. Like, what are you talking about? And a lot of people, I'm guilty of it. You take your phone to the freaking toilet. Like you just can't stop.
I can't stay off of it.
Stay off of it.
Pretty much.
Right. And then you'll justify it. You'll say, oh, well, there's an email. Oh, there's a message. It's like, no, there's not. Like, can you leave it alone for 30 minutes? And I was like, there was times where I would train angry, and then I would actually have the music not playing. And that was tough. But it also allowed me to feel what I was going through emotionally. So, you say like being able to laugh and joke, and it was definitely like that, brother. And but yeah, it was all business. I think the problem is that people are so disconnected with what they're doing. And when I say they're disconnected, I think it's because they're doing it for the likes now. They're not doing it because of the love of the sport as much as they think. Because when you're trying to ask yourself this, people, when you train and you're filming, you're trying to document something to share. And if no one liked it, you'd be pissed. But you could still have the greatest lift of your life. If we had the best lift of our life and we're clanging and banging and having a good time, and someone was filming it and they posted and it had 0 likes, I would not care, because I'm with my friend. We're training for the Olympia. We're having fun. We're looking great. To me, that's where I see it lacking. And it's tough, man. I try to put myself in a lot of these guys' shoes right now. Like how do you measure intensity when you have these devices everywhere, and you're worried that like maybe someone's trying to catch you like at the gym, they're taking videos of you and wanting to share your progress and stuff. All I know is that like being by myself really helped me. If I had to do it all over again, I would have, even through social media, I would have probably done it the same way, because I got the best results that way.
We had Kai Green on the podcast a few weeks ago, and I could not get him to tell me what show he thought he beat you at.
Because he didn't. Well, no, he should have said 2010 Arnold Classic. But the fact that he didn't even say that you already know the story. I was up by 3 after prejudging and lost by 7.
I was talking about the Olympia, though, to him mostly because I wanted to know what his thought process was on the Olympia. And, we talked about 13 was a walk away for you. I mean, only second person in history ever to get one call out at the contest. Dorian Yates did it, too. But there are a lot of years, Phil, that maybe Friday wasn't your best.
Correct.
And then Saturday, I mean, I think we were all better. And I felt that way with this Arnold, too. I felt like everyone looked, I mean, you saw Friday nights and Saturday nights. Did everyone look better on Saturday night?
Everyone on Saturday looked tremendously better. I'm talking about like anywhere from 20 to 30%.
What do you think, and we'll get back to the Kai thing, but do you feel like, was it a nerve thing for you? Was it I'm not sure how I look compared to the other guys, or was it like, what was it, do you think, that made you a better person the next night?
I think it actually goes back to what Arnold was saying on the live stream. And he was saying like, you pose, and the more you pose, it's like you get the nerves out and your body gets, fired up, and you carry that into the next day. Like if you're holding on a little bit of water or whatever, like you kind of get rid of it, even though you thought you did. I thought I looked good both nights on a lot of those shows, right? And then until the late Peter McGuff was like, no, you're Mr. Saturday Night. And I was like, what does that mean? And it was like, oh, well, you don't look as good. And I was like,
did you hate that name?
At first, yeah, because I thought, well, basically you're saying I didn't look good Friday. But I realize what they're saying. What they're really saying is that I look so much better on Saturday that it makes Friday look bad. Look, it's a 2-day show. At least I had the strategy. At least I had the body that could come in better every time, every year.
You were never losing, though, on Friday night.
No.
So that's one thing we have to put forward.
Yeah.
Just because we felt you were maybe turned it up a little bit Saturday, you never were behind on a Friday night
So did you
score.
shut the door on Saturday if you're already ahead?
Well, that's how you're supposed to do it, right? Like, I mean, you got to, in boxing, they call it closing the show, right? So you got to be able to do that, slam the door on their ass and go home. The last thing you want to do is, I remember this happening in 2012 Olympia. Honey comes in my room.
That's what I was going to ask you. I'm going to ask you about some of your, because there's all this scuttlebutt after Friday night. And it's like, oh, so-and-so's close. Oh, Phil's not his best. I went through all this every time.
Yeah.
They're like, you got to get a little sharper. You got to get a little drier. Tell me a couple of scenarios. Give me a couple of years that where maybe like it pissed you off because you looked at what maybe we were looking at chat boards then, probably more then.
Yeah, get big. Yeah, gosh, they
so-
should tear my ass up on that website.
You and Jay, remember?
Oh my God,
They used to have a picture of a refrigerator with his head.
Right, they would tear our asses up, man. So real quick, with 2012, I wasn't really pissed. I was a little concerned because, Honey comes in the room and he tells me that he's him and Farron are pregnant. So I was like, oh, congrats, this is great. Like, this is great news. Well, I'm getting ready for a show right now. Like, what's going on? So we're like all hugging it out and this and that. And he's like taking a look at me. And then Farron is staring and she's like, wow, you look really good. And I look at Honey and he and I were just staring at each other like, and there's silence like this. And we both knew we were peaking too early. So we had to just hold on for that Friday and Saturday and going against a great Kai Green. In my opinion, like if Kai in 2012 would have just stayed there for the remainder of his career, he might have got me on one of those years that I was off on Friday. He would have made me look off on Friday with that type of conditioning. But he didn't. He went the other way. One of the years that I was probably upset, like hearing that nonsense, was 16. In 16 I came. No, it wasn't 16. It was 15. It was the year before 15. And I was like, okay, no, I'm not hearing this nonsense. Like, oh, he's going to turn it up, right?
Who's like do you remember like where
one was telling me, but like they're always telling Hani, and I don't know if Hani would have to explain that. And look, I think sometimes like I'm retired, so I can say whatever I want, but I think sometimes judges just throw some stuff at coaches just to kind of keep them on their toes. That's a possibility. I know in 2014, Kai and I got into it at prejudging. That kind of really messed us both up. Like our cortisol came out. Like if you look at the prejudging, we looked like garbage right after that interaction. I had to literally turn it up that next day because of what had happened. Because I gained a lot of water just by getting upset. Because after that interaction that he and I had, they didn't compare us again. So the prejudging was really over. They're just basically like Phil, Kai, 1 and 2.
There was too much
too much
tension.
Too much tension. They were afraid probably that if we call these guys out again,
Could happen again or worse.
it could. Well, look, like I think he and I both know that it was going to probably not end well. So yeah, it's Saturday. I don't recall ever hearing like, hey, Phil's down or like he's got to turn it up. I just remember in 15, they were kind of like saying stuff to Hani and we were both like, what the hell are they talking about? And we had some trouble because I think I told you this, like after winning my 4th Mr. Olympia, my body changed. So the same diet, the same type of training wasn't going to work anymore. So we're kind of using like old tricks, and it didn't pan out the way that we had hoped. So I didn't weigh, like I wasn't as full as what I had hoped for. 14 and 15 are the years that I hated the most. I hated those more than I lost to Sean because I had an opportunity to look really big and really like tight, and the body didn't respond. So I guess I was more pissed off about that. But then in 16, that's why hearing all that nonsense from 15, I came in 16 and said, no, we're going all out on Friday. Like I need to know, like I'll have another gear. Cause I trained a lot different for 2016 Olympia. I knew that I needed to have like those muscle maturity years. So I went with a lot more eccentric movements. I trained a lot heavier And I just think my body that like absorbed all the nutrients the way that it was supposed to by me training heavier. It wasn't just the volume that I was known for. It was like heavy rack deads, heavy back squats. I mean, I was squatting up to 5 plates. I just didn't record it because that wasn't the thing that I was known for doing. I was just doing the work. But I just wanted to, really get that grainy muscle. And I believe like that pre-judge, and I did that.
Was that the year that Dexter could have beat you?
That was the year. Oh God. So we're going to go there. So yeah, jeez. I think
Remember we were backstage and they were arguing?
Oh my
It was
gosh.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Actually, 3 in Orlando.
You filmed
It's like,
it.
yeah, I think I filmed it, posted it.
You really
like, I almost got you. He actually looked
Was it
good that
when?
year.
What year was that?
I think it was 15.
15.
Oh, it
15.
was okay. So
That's
got
when he looked
got
really
second
good.
to you that
I
year.
think
He looked really good, but I mean,
you actually started that.
no, Jay totally.
did.
Of course, you were
Jay
like,
totally
Dexter
started
said he beat you back then.
And I knew, and I was looking at Jay like, I can't help myself, man, and neither can Dexter. Shout out to Dexter, man. Like he and I can argue about anything, but he knows good and damn well. Like he could say that he pushed me, but like he can't say anything more than that, dude. Like there's no pose that I was going to lose to this guy. I just don't think
he did look
a
pretty
favorite.
good that year.
But he looked, but he was polished.
He
I mean,
looked big that year.
whatever he
The
did.
biggest he did. Yeah.
Whatever he did that year, man, because he was getting kind of like pushed aside, in my opinion. He came out really, really good. He just at that point. I mean, I just had a bigger back. I was more
Was he
round.
40 when he beat me in 08? He was.
No, I don't think he was 40. When was his last show? 2020? I think it was the Florida show, and he was like 51 there. So that would have been. So he would have been 38, maybe 39.
I thought he was 40.
That would have been 40.
I think he was 40
that would have been
when he
40,
won his
dude.
first Olympia. So how old was he by the time he got to 15? So he was already
It was mid-40s.
47, 8,
Yeah,
46, 47.
45, 46. He's my age, probably.
That's
Like, I'm 45.
incredible.
No, I'm telling you, man. Like he did really good job, but yeah.
He was 37.
Oh, when he
Dexter
08?
Jackson won the Mr. Olympia title at 37, and then again won the Masters Olympia in 2012 at 43.
Okay.
So I should win the Masters Olympia at 45. No, I'm just playing.
So you doing it?
No,
Is this we'll put the camera on you? Is this how you make an announcement?
no. That's all Brandon Curry's show right now. Is Kai doing it?
I don't know.
Him and
It seems like he's talking about.
Kai and Brandon should go at it. That'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, Brandon looked great this last weekend.
So with Kai Green, did you hear any of the rumblings? He said he would compete if he was paid,
So
and you were training him.
yeah.
So there's a couple variables here.
Yeah, so I offered I would train him.
Okay,
And I
so
was-
What much you charging?
I do it for free. I think we
It's very nice of you.
dude. I think we would set the world on fire.
Do you think
Like, it's seriously? I mean, like, if he was like, "Hey, Phil, I'll take you up on it," I'd be like, "Dude, let's just put some cameras on, man." I think everybody would tune in for that. Like the viral, like, dude, just off of YouTube, we make money.
he's still pretty big sitting in that chair?
I'm sure he is.
And he
dude.
ate a lot of food when he was here.
Yeah,
Hey.
he ate 2 whole 10-ounce steak meals.
One thing about Kai that I think we all know is that is a real bodybuilder.
Yeah, he still
Like,
trains a
you
lot.
know what I mean? Like, there's guys that like, how do you say it? Like in basketball, we'll say that pro is a pro basketball player, but this guy is a pro, but he's a hooper. He's a hooper. He'll hoop anywhere. Like
KD Hooper.
right, like Jamal Crawford, hooper. Like we'll go to LA Fitness and give you 50, like on anyone. Kai Green is a bodybuilder. He doesn't have to be just a competitor. Like he is a pro bodybuilder. Like that man has not stopped training. I'd be curious to see what he actually looks like, but no one's going to outsize the guy. And the muscle maturity that he has in his quads alone, that would probably give Brandon problems because although Brandon we don't know what Kai looks like up top, but Kai wouldn't have to be that big up top. So if he has like this, even if it was 80% of what he had in the legs, this would be a problem. The only thing that would prevent Kai from actually doing well is the conditioning. Like if he could pull it together and have the motivation to
I think the
drive.
midsection, because of the age, we tend to get a little wider as we get older.
My stomach got better since I stopped competing, but I also lost 30 pounds. But and your stuff is good too.
So do you think he would come back if the situation was right?
Yeah. So
Compete.
He's going to be 50 this year.
who, Kai?
Yeah.
About time. I thought he was 50 like 5 years ago, but no, I think, look, I have 2 arguments. People say like, no, I remember Ron Harris, like he posted on that, on one of those and he was like, no, that takes away from the other athletes that are giving it their all. No one should be paid to compete. I have a question. Did Kai get paid to do the Arnold Classic Brazil and that run like the last year that he was competing? I believe he did. Because I think he accidentally posted it on his social. That's one thing. But the argument that I have is, if it's an invite, you would invite Tiger Woods to go do a Dubai Invitational, and you would pay him millions of dollars to go compete. Okay,
More fans come.
because more fans come. So if a promoter was to say, "Hey, I got a show in Bahrain or Kuwait or whatever, I just want to see Kai Green compete. I'm willing to pay him." Fans, why is that a problem? If Kai knows his worth, then why shouldn't he get paid for his worth? Lee Priest actually said a couple years ago that I will come back if people pay. If that's what he feels like, then I don't think that this should be a problem. It's not disrespect if a person believes they should be paid for something. Now, he'll look stupid if no one pays him.
Yeah.
Because the market says, no, you're not worth that, Kai. But if Kai knows that he can get that money, he'd be selling himself short to just do it just to do it.
So here's a question. What's the difference between an appearance and competing?
Well,
I'm
you
going
get
to
it for
throw
appearance?
something out,
Depends
okay,
on
and I'm
how-
going to talk
yeah.
directly to our audience, and I'm not going to say when it was. I was paid to compete at one point.
there you go.
I was paid, but wasn't spoken about. So all of a
Right.
sudden, shame on you for asking.
That's crazy.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's crazy to me. I'm with you. Like there should be. Look, I've said it in private. We've made jokes about this. If someone paid me to come back, I would entertain it. I would entertain it.
If it was enough,
Of course,
But
bro.
we
like,
don't know what we're not
it's
even
a bit-
discussing what is enough is,
But-
because that's
right.
that depends on the
And even
person.
Kai didn't say like, "Hey, it's this much."
Yes, he didn't say. You're right.
So we don't know what that is. It could be $10,000. It could just be flights and hotels, a trip.
Fly the family, put me on a private jet.
We don't know what it is. So for us fans, I'm a fan of the sport. We're all fans of the sport. I always advocate for the athlete getting paid. His legacy, he has one. He has one.
it's a huge fan base.
Of course. So I don't see why the fans should be so upset. And here's the other thing. I just got to say it. Fans got to stop this nonsense, because Kai Green is one of the best bodybuilders to ever do it. He's an Arnold Classic champion. No, he didn't win the Olympia, but he is a champion, and he is worthy of being paid to go compete if someone's willing to pay him. Okay. He's a pro bodybuilder, man. Like, we compete to get paid. If I were to come back, I would only be competing if I was getting paid,
Of course.
right? It's like when people were talking about Floyd Mayweather like years ago. They're like, he goes, I'm a prize fighter. I compete for a mother effing prize.
Yeah.
If you're a pro bodybuilder, I don't care what division you in, you ain't doing this for free. So I think we could put this all to bed, man. Like, I don't give a damn what freaking journalist or internet personality says this. Like, stop it when an athlete says they want to get paid for something. They want to get paid for something because they know they have to use that money to get them to where they want to go. Well, he should just do it for the love of it. Are you kidding me? There's a certain ROI that we get. What are we talking about?
Love doesn't pay the bills.
No, it doesn't. And we're talking about a sport that requires us to take things. So, like, we got to just knock that off.
You gotta take things that take potentially years off your life. It costs a lot of money to get there. You got to travel people there. You got to travel your trainer there. You got to put up the hotel, the food, the this, that. How much did you say nowadays, even if it probably costs you $30 grand to get ready for a show, if not
More than that.
if not more.
It depends. I mean, really, listen, I'm talking about year to year. We did the Olympia, so I had to compile all that money. If I spent $100,000 on food, listen, we'd go to Ketsu and spend $1,000 on dinner.
Yeah.
So I'm inclusive with that. And who doesn't eat out at this point? When you're a pro bodybuilder, what do you have to look forward to besides working out,
And eating.
going to a movie, and eating? And not eating the food that you cook at home. We all love to go out to eat.
So what I said before is, if somebody says, I want you to come to my gym and I'm going to pay you X amount, it's because a certain amount of people are going to come there. It's a marketing thing. If you say, I want $100 grand to go compete, that's because you know they're going to drive revenue that the promoter is going to make. If it makes sense to do it. Now, if someone says, I want $1 million, and then
It doesn't
you're not
generate
worth
that
it.
much.
It doesn't generate it.
Well, let's be real about it. Like, what's next for Phil Heath is, I do motivational speaking and all that stuff, right? So you get these people that claim that they're a $100,000 speaker. you have to ask that same person, how many times do they speak per year? If they're speaking every weekend and they're making $100,000, then they're a legit $100,000 speaker. No different if a guy was guest posting for $10,000 to $20,000. You could say you guest post for $50,000, but if you only did it once a year, you're not a $50,000 guest poster. Right?
Come on, Phil. You get paid $50,000 to show up somewhere. I know that for a fact.
I have, but it wasn't always because I did it. Yeah. Where's the watch? Where's that Rolex?
I remember that one. I was like, damn, we're getting this for what?
Yeah, for what?
It was like a
Hey, Phil, can you do this again?
I know. I wanted to be like, we do this tour every year.
But those are those things, and I see it. Like I said, I see it in the speaking world. Oh yeah, we're at these events. You've been at these events. So what do you charge? I would be like, oh, I charge $60,000. I'm like, okay. And then I go into social. He's just showing the same clips. So my point is, look, fans, if Kai says he will come back and if he gets paid and he doesn't get paid, that means that there's no value. And you guys didn't care anyway. So big deal. But if you want him just to compete, I mean, he already told you his answer. I don't think we should be so negative about someone wanting to get to earn for having to. I mean, look.
It's a year out of his life.
I think as a pro bodybuilder, I watched Kai compete in New York doing that Dirty Diana routine. If I had to pay $50 just to go watch that routine, him in that condition, I would pay it. Number one, because I have the money. But two, because I want to see a performance. So I think, there's got to be a person out there if they, and they should work that out with Kai. If they want to have some parameters of saying like, hey, you better show me what you currently look like for me to invest in this. I will pay you X amount if you look a certain way so then I can help promote it. Then I think we'd all be happy. But,
just for the record, I'm a $100,000 speaker. I haven't got paid it yet, but
I'm not
my
even,
price.
I'm not even there yet.
Let me ask you about going back to the Arnold Classic. Andrew Jack.
Okay.
What does Andrew Jack need to do to overcome? He's been fifth at the Olympia. He seemed to can't get past that.
Yes.
He's third at the Arnold, I believe, again. I think did he finish third the last time? Yeah. Nick.
He did 2 years ago. He got third.
Okay.
So they said he needed more size. Now he puts on the size. Where does he fall in this situation?
I mean, who's telling him that he needed more size when
after he got third at the Arnold?
I'm gonna, in my opinion, I mean, I'm not trying to stir up no bullshit with judges and stuff because I'm sure he didn't talk to all the judges. It ain't just the size that not Samson, but Andrew Jack needs. He needs conditioning. Period. He needs it.
Do you think he has the ability to outcondition all these guys if he literally locked in?
So, and here's the other part. I've never been around him when he trained. I've never been around him on cardio. Like I've never been around him in that capacity. So I don't know what his threshold of pain is. I don't know what his mentality is or his emotion.
Look at his physique, Phil.
Now, okay, I was calling it on a live stream. I'm telling you right now, Andrew Jack gets shredded. Like,
is he a big problem?
A big ass problem. But there's another component to it. The way he poses on those side shots is I don't like it. I think he could do it better. He stands straight up and he shows how tall he is next to a guy like Derek who's much shorter than him. He's got to not do a front side chest. He needs to not have it so bunched up. It was painful. And I can say this, I'm sure this happened with you. If you don't have the deep tissue massages and all this other active release therapy and stuff, there was a reason why you did it because you had to be so big, so wide and be able to contort your body a certain way. This is a guy that can do the splits, but if you look how bunched up he is, he needs to open this stuff up. So it might be a soft tissue thing, but if he were to just work on those things and actually get those glutes and hamstrings, because look, if you don't have glutes, if you don't have hamstrings, it's going to be a major problem. We all know it. If he could just show up with the same level of conditioning from the rear that Samson Dowda has, he would be a much bigger problem because I love his X-frame. His front double bicep is really good. His front lat spread is awesome. There's nothing I could nitpick on the front lat spread, dude. The way that his quads separate from the hip on down, he has great control with that, but it's just so weird. I don't see that with the other shots. I want to see Andrew Jack hit a most muscular with the legs the same way as he does in the other shots, right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's just a body control thing. and I don't know who's really in his ear. I heard this year that he came in very motivated, but I think he might have peaked like a day before. I got to see like a photo, and I thought, well, yeah, he might have peaked a little bit too early on that Thursday as opposed to Friday. But I mean, let me ask you guys. I mean, we keep saying the same damn thing. He's got to come in ripped. He's got to come in ripped. Like,
I said this to Matt this morning.
like, this is enough. Like, I'm not here to throw shit at all, man. But like,
We heard this about Rami for years
Yeah.
and years, right? He got second to you in 17.
yes,
And that year he turned it up, but then he didn't win it till
2020.
2020.
And he only did it once. Like, as far as like that type of conditioning,
Nailed it. Yeah.
and then where he nailed it. In 2021, he's still able to win, but like,
I mean, 13, he came out of the gates like swinging, and you're like, wow, okay, this guy ever gets his rhythm. We got some
well,
big
I can tell everybody what Jay said. He,
Well,
we tell him?
Yeah.
He goes, because you weren't happy. I get it. It was like the last time you're on that stage. He goes, Jay walks away. He goes, if that dude ever gets it together, all you MFers are in trouble. And I'm like, bye, Jay. You know, I'm like, damn, I'll be a boy, man.
Ain't wrong.
But then I thought about it, I was like, he ain't wrong though, man, because the guy's so wide, so thick, you know, but you know, I think even with Rami, I think I saw Rami in 2010 when he was not even, I don't even think he was, I think he had just turned pro in Kuwait. And I remember saying to Dennis James and Bader, like, this guy's ready to go now. And I told Bader, I was like, don't touch nothing, like meaning like just let him be like this. Yeah. And I think as some of these guys chase that size, they forget about chasing conditioning. And I just think that we're at a point now where chasing size is not the way to go. Like, you look at any other category outside of open, it's the conditioning that's going to win. It's not always the size. Like, you look at, like, even like, you know, men's physique, well, of course, you're going to talk about conditioning. Classic, Logan Franklin, the reason why he plays so well is because he was conditioned. You know, I think with open, you know, Samson would easily win the Olympia, in my opinion, even with not having the biggest bag, or, I mean, it's probably still the biggest, but like maybe not the best. If he was more conditioned in every other place. If he had Derek's conditioning, he would beat even a hottie, right? I think conditioning has to be the main topic. I think
Shouldn't a guy like Samson and Andrew look at the landscape and go, the guys who are beating the bigger guys, it's on conditioning. So even if Samson was 15 pounds less or Andrew's 10 pounds less, if they had that conditioning, is it a contest?
I agree. I think it comes down to ego.
Yeah.
Some
people don't want to lose that weight.
I mean, you were able to lose the weight, like you were used to be like
55 there.
right, but then you
I won my first Olympia at 273. You were there. You watched.
Yeah. So but what was more impressive?
255, because that's a realistic weight. It's like you going up. I mean,
Like
I think honestly, Phil, like there were shows you got too big.
probably.
I think, you know, when
Probably.
2011, I still look at that physique. I mean, 13 obviously, but after there,
13 was crazy.
like how much
13 was the heaviest I weighed, by the way.
Think about how much you had to eat to maintain
I still think
it. But
2011
you know,
was your best.
I think you morph your body in time, and you know, listen, the stomach can only eventually. It's
Dude.
like you tried not to grow that midsection.
I
and
was
unfortunately,
battling. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, you just can't. You can't tell the food to go to these body parts only. I wish we could.
Well, the fans can.
I-
On the internet, they'll
I mean,
tell it.
it's like backing down your arm training to train them once a month just because you
Yeah.
had such great arms.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have our body parts that just need a little more. Your back improved the most over your career. Your back
Yeah.
and legs, which I feel like
Yep.
suffered in the very beginning. Like you had very weak legs and
Yep.
back. And you had to overcome that because people talked about Phil's narrow, Phil's this. But look at what you were able to achieve on that. But unfortunately, like the judging led towards, I mean, you were dealing, like I said, you were dealing with a big Rami and,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Look, I was
Kai
left,
Green,
I
who
was
was
left with
very
no choice.
big.
Yeah, I was left with no choice. I mean, like if I would have just said, okay, the Olympia in 2011, I think I was like 234 or something like that. If I would have just stayed there,
What was your biggest weight? Then you said in 13.
I was 248.
Okay.
And you know what's funny? I never got there again. And that goes back to the whole hernia situation. Because when I had the intestinal strangulation in 2017, I wasn't absorbing any nutrients because I was bleeding through my freaking colon. So like when you see my stomach distended and stuff, you know, obviously fans don't understand, but like when you have something like that type of condition with the food, you don't have control over it. So you're going to have distension. And that's what plagued me, because I still remember 2014, getting ready for the Olympia. I remember going like this, and Dylan was like, "You okay?" And Hobbs was there. And I was like, "Man, I can't breathe." And then Dylan came up, and it was like he was poking my belly button. He was like, "Yeah, that's kind of pushing out a little bit." And it just got progressively worse. And look, I have it on paper with that, because you know when you have an intestinal strangulation, you're not getting nutrients to the body and stuff. I remember, you know, looking at my blood work like a month out, and my AST, ALT were like in the 20s. That's crazy, because you know you're on orals. They should be high.
It should be real high.
Well, for me, I never went above 100. Like I guess I must be genetically gifted on that part. I didn't abuse either. Like the highest I think was mine is like 88 or something like that, like in the 80s. But for me, that's high.
Yeah, 40 is the range, right?
Yeah, 40 is like the range, right? So, but it was under 40.
Maximum 40.
So we used to start thinking like, so Hani's like freaking out, like
Figure.
correct.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
But you didn't, yeah.
Because once I got that surgery, and then when I came back in 2018, just recovering from the surgery 4 months later, I was like, oh, now I'm cleared the train. I took like one Anadrol, and I was like it was like crazy. And that's when I knew. I was like, right away, I was like,
Your body wasn't.
my body wasn't processing anything. Like, and so therefore, like, yeah, I think if I would have never got hurt, I think I would have been able to compete like right at 250. But that didn't happen. So I think I did the best I could. But 2017, man, that was crazy. So 2016 prejudging and 2017 finals, that was nutty. If I hadn't gotten hurt, like, you know, I was dealing with all that. I think that would have been like a good way, because even 2017, I was like 246. I had hoped to compete up to like 252, but it wasn't necessary, right? But yeah, if I could have done it all over again and I could have just competed on a 240, I probably would have. But I won a lot of my Olympias at 240.
I mean, you were winning shows at 216 or 208.
Dude, I won 208 at a New York Pro.
And that would not, your height, that would be classic.
Right? I beat Dennis James, Guy Green, Alexander Fedorov. Remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, gave a lot of those guys problems at that way. King Kamali beat him. George Fair, Kai's coach.
You know, some of these guys like Brandon Curry and Bonnick, you know, they finished mid-range, you know, top 5.
Good payday.
And like we watched them battle at the Arnold Classic several times where they went back and forth. We saw Brandon win Olympia and Bonnick at second.
Yep.
So these aren't any slouches in that sense. Does it shock you that these guys, I think Brandon came back tremendously. Like I was most impressed with him out of almost everyone besides Derek.
Yeah, I think he was
he really made a statement because they really discredited his abilities because, of course, his atmosphere, he used to go to Kuwait and train, and now he was staying home. And, like, he was definitely downsized, but I felt like the balance actually looked pretty solid for him.
I'd say so. I think again, I'll lean back to what you were saying earlier about the internet. Social media does make people believe that someone's finished. You know, instead of just allowing that person to do their thing, having the confidence of saying, like, look, this is a champion bodybuilder. This guy's won the Arnold, he's won the Olympia. He's so what if he didn't go to Kuwait? He's got a family at home. He's got a gym at home. A real
gym,
dude. A real bodybuilder. All they need is food in the gym. He's a real bodybuilder, and I'm proud of what he was able to accomplish. You know, I think that was a great moral victory for him.
Do you think he could go to like a New York Pro or a Pittsburgh and do well against even like, I mean, if Derek's doing it or.
I mean, if Derek's doing it, I mean, I just think it's the look.
I mean, is he a guy that can be in the top 3?
I think he can.
I think
he just pushed Andrew.
To be fair, I think Brandon was better than
I heard a lot of people say that he could have.
I think he could have. I would have had no problem on the
he'd
live
got third.
stream if he'd have got third. That's not a shot at Andrew. It's just the fact that Brandon came in better on that Saturday night, I think. And look, I mean, I give Brandon a lot of credit because as he's getting older, he's still trying to figure out his recipe. And I believe he had to revise that recipe for him to maintain his legs. I mean, like, that's the only body part that I'm ever going to look at on Brandon, like, just to kind of gauge where he's at, upper body. I mean, dude, like, the guy's round, some of the best arms we've ever, seen. I mean, they're so round, big chest, his back. Could it be a little bit more crispy? Yeah, sure. We all can, but I think the legs is the biggest thing. Like, his hips are so small. Like, if you really look at it, he doesn't have large glutes like a Bonac. So it's just going to look different. But seeing him next to Derek, I didn't think that Brandon was getting worked, like he wasn't getting beat up. He was competitive. I think it's just, it would be interesting to see Brandon at a one-day show next to these other guys, because I'd be curious to see how he would push his body for those, 6 hours? Would he be able to just dial it in? But I'm happy that he's willing to do the Masters, because
Sure, is that what he committed to now?
Yeah.
I keep hearing it. I mean,
Yeah,
He said it, though.
I think he did, not 100%, but if he won that, he had won every title. Arnold, Olympia, throughout the years.
Is it just a resume thing now for him? Or is he says he's not going anywhere. I know he said that.
well, I mean, I think Brandon has done a great job at, competing at a high level and getting paid doing it. I mean, look, he loves it, clearly. He's got fans. So I look at it like this. When you don't have injuries, you should still compete. If you have the goods to be top 5, you still should compete. If you have fans, still compete. And if you're getting paid, keep doing it. He has all 4. If he was hurt,
Is he 43?
I don't think he's that old.
I mean, Dexter went until he's 50.
So if you didn't get injured, would you have kept going? Because we always had this joke. I told you to slap me upside the head if I ever was a 40-year-old bodybuilder, and I quit at 4. I turned 40 right before, 2 months before August, and I competed in October.
I was 40. He's
Brandon's
42.
42.
Does he turn 43 this year?
Yeah, 43 this year,
Okay.
in October.
Do you think you would have kept going, Phil? I know this is I'm going to put you on the spot. Like, if you would have won that Olympia in the comeback year of sitting out after the injury, do you think you would have gone another round?
That was a conversation I had with Danny and DJ, because we were trying to do some, film work, and I had to basically commit that I would retire either way. Because of the
You wanted to go to get that number 9.
I would have wanted to,
Yeah.
but I think, look, I wanted to do the Hollywood stuff right after, I was slated for a film. I wasn't going to take the vaccine. Things happened, got paid, didn't appear. If I would have done film, I would have been done, but if I had won 8 and not done film, or let's say how it played out. Yeah. If I'm not doing movies and stuff, I would have came back and done 9,
You'd have to at least.
I would have had to try it, I think I would have really made it a marketing angle, though, because I would have had a good 2-year run of going for 9, because no matter, even if I would have lost the first time going for 9, I would have came back one more time, because for me, I kind of felt like I owed it to the fans to try. And even 2020, I didn't have to come back, I came back just because it was a cool way of me proving to myself that I was going to do this Olympia just for me.
After the injury.
Tied out in 13.
I was like, I knew I still had the goods, and quite frankly, I mean, if it wasn't for the last 10 days, I think I would have won. But of course, we all think we could have won. But the way I have to dig up some photos and stuff, maybe share them one day. That shit was, it was a problem. But I will say 2020 taught me a lot. I did not peak during that peak week, and I paid for it. But yeah, I'll always have the nightmare or the dream of if I hadn't gotten hurt, what things would have been like. But I will say, barring any injury, let's say I retired and I won 9. with this prize money now, I would have probably said, hey, I'm coming back for one more. Because if you're not injured and your health, health is number one. Like if you're not injured and your blood work's coming back, like good enough. And when I say good enough to not put you in the hospital. Okay. Can't just say good enough to compete, because good enough to compete still put your ass in the hospital.
Of course.
Still mess up your organs and all this other stuff. Like, I'm not here to do that. But yeah, I would have. I'll be honest, man. There's sometimes I still regret not winning in Columbus. That's the only title I don't have. I got 3 different Sandals, but I don't have that, you know? So when I'm watching the Arnold Classic, I'm like, damn, you know?
Well, you got one. It was still with Arnold.
Yeah, it's a cup with Arnold's face on it, which is dope. Ain't gonna lie.
Yeah. Spain, and what was that?
Spain.
13 or 14?
13.
13, yeah.
That was when all that nonsense with Kai and I started, 13.
2013 in Madrid.
Yeah. Where we
Phil,
barely had food.
you've been highly outspoken about the men's physique category.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little controversy right now. You know, we sat on the stage the day after the show with Arnold, and he talked about the division. And now a lot of guys are taking insult to it. You know, you saw that Ali, now Aaron Banks, I think Jeremy Buendia stepped up and said, you know, they support his movement of not competing. Their take, I think, was Aaron Banks. I mean, or a lot of talk about the industry that the board shorts division is the leader of the league and participation.
Yes.
Which, as contest promoters, we're both.
We know that.
It is.
Yes.
They have raised the shorts. So is the insult that Arnold, is it going directly at those competitors, or is Arnold talking more to the organization?
Yeah, you know, I believe that the athletes took this the completely wrong way.
And Arnold has a habit of doing that sometimes.
I think the athletes took it the wrong way, and they ran with it. And here's why. We were there. All Arnold talked about was he doesn't like the fact that the shorts are that low, because he wants to be able to critique the quads.
Because the quads you can see,
through the
showing through the shorts.
Right.
Why hide them?
Right. So he said this on the live stream. I'm sitting they got Sydney, him, myself on the other side. I didn't feel weird or anything. Only time I felt weird when he was talking was like when he made the joke about like, well, what are we going to do? Like, put him in pajamas, you know? And I was like, well, I could see like how some, you know, I thought it was funny, but I'm not trying to laugh on live stream.
Yeah.
I didn't hear him insult anyone, especially the champions. I think he might have insulted, but I don't even look at this as an insult. There was a guy that walked out on the stage during the live stream. He did not have any legs past those kneecaps on down. No calves, it was sticks. Just to call it what it is, man. And if he is saying something about someone's physique, that's the critique. But I have to now go back and watch the whole damn live stream to hear Arnold bash the division. I don't really remember him bashing the division. All I remember him saying is that they should wear like a bikini shorts, like classic, you know, to show the legs. And that's that. And then the whole thing about the prize money is where I'm like, guys, I want you guys to get paid too. I do. It ain't my show. It's his. But you knew how much it cost for first place going into the show, and you still put your name on the dotted line. Why bitch about it now?
Well, they're trying to bring the prize money up to match or be closer to the open category.
But
that'll never happen.
But the rationale, I think, is so. I think their rationale has some merit, but I don't believe they have the real data to support it. When you say that the division produces the most people, we all know that is the division that everybody tries because it's very much attainable and people.
NPC.
But that's NPC.
Amateur level.
And that's the amateur level. So so now they have to recognize, okay, you're just talking about the NPC. That is not the IFBB. the NPC is not it's not a subsidized league where like it's like the NBA that pays the WNBA and this and that. Like the NPC is the NPC.
Amateur.
It's amateur. The NPC is not responsible for the prize money of the pro league. Because if it was, then yeah, the men's physique would make more money. But I don't think they're not looking at it like that. Like they should be looking that is a scenario that does not exist. The NPC is the NPC. That money that is made is generated and it stays there. The IFBB is the IFBB. It has basically independent contractors.
Different sanctions, different everything.
Bro, they're independent.
Different promoters in many cases.
The promoters are the ones that control it. It's a free enterprise. Yep. The NPC is different. So when you're bitching and moaning about saying the Olympia makes, or the Arnold Classic is making $500,000 for open, and these guys aren't making it nearly as much, well, then get mad at the promoter.
Arnold chooses to do that.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. But like the Olympia, so then why isn't everybody making $600,000 at these shows? They're doing it because they want to do it. They come up with their own metric. They come up with their own thing. I'm thankful that I made a lot of money at the Open. If I had to do all over again, I do freaking Open because I want to make the most money. But I think the metrics, the eyeballs, when you just say that like, oh, we should get paid more because the NPC, they're not realizing that NPC doesn't funnel money in the IFBB. So I love the fact that these guys are unified. Mm-hmm. I think that's great. But I also don't believe that you should ever say that you'll never want to do a show again because of how, I don't remember, what did Arnold say directly that was disrespectful?
I think a lot of times people hear chatter online and they run with it.
But I'm saying, like, show me a video. I'm saying this, like, I ain't got no horse in this race, right? So I'm like, I just want to know from my own.
I mean, everyone has their individual feelings. Their perception
what is the facts?
Might be different from yours or his.
But what is the facts, though? That's what I want to know. Like, what did he say?
It shows a disrespect. Their theory is, and I understand every side you're saying.
Right.
Arnold spoke about the division like, what is this? I don't understand it. Why are they wearing these shorts? Like, and they mentioned, in the pajamas joke, I think like it's kind of, it's very insulting that like they're not respected as like the other divisions in a sense.
Look, I respect y'all. I think you guys are great. If you guys weren't great, I wouldn't have it at my own show. You know what I'm saying? Like, I commentate. I love them. I go on.
Sean Ray has a only men's physique category at his professional at his show. There's a lot of shows. There may be more men's physique contests than there are in the IFBB than open.
Way more.
Okay, so
triple.
Okay, so now we're on.
There's a reason for it though.
What?
Everything is a marketplace.
Okay.
The prize money for some of those shows, the purse is $6,000.
Okay, so then let's go with that.
Exactly.
So now we have, so now we're exactly where we need to be. We're all businessmen here. Let's just talk about it. You got all these shows that are paying that little amount of money. Okay, why are they paying that little amount of money?
That's how much they can afford.
And how many people show up?
Exactly.
It ain't no different than women's bodybuilding then. Like if women's bodybuilding want to make more money, how many people pay to go watch that individually? Exactly. It's the same thing. So like I love these categories. I believe they all
have their place.
Everybody should get paid a ton of money, like based on just their effort. But like it's a market.
Everyone has market value.
Bro, you got to remember, I won $100,000 at the Arnold Classic, the 3 that I won each year
with a car.
With
a watch.
The Arnold Classic over the last 3 years went from 100 to
200 to 300 to
500. It was at 130 to 200.
Yes, exactly.
Then to 300, then to 500.
So we are just seeing the new age of money up.
Yep.
And the Olympia is the same thing. It went from 200 when I won.
Yep. To 300.
Did it go to 3 or 4? It went.
No. It went to 3. No. It went to 3.
Okay.
It went right to 4.
And then it went right to 4.
And it stayed at 4 for 10 years.
Yep.
Until it just went to 600.
So
did it go for 400 for 10 years? When was the first year you won 400? You remember?
14
or 15?
14, I think.
Okay. And
14, yeah. It was, yeah.
And
no.
14 or 15.
Okay.
15. 15.
But still, almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, like it's evolved over time. Look, I know everybody wants to get paid money, and I want them to get paid money too. But I think it's the wrong way to go about it. When look, you're going to say you're not going to do someone's show. Look, I can't tell anyone how to feel.
Of course,
I can tell you how I would handle it. Very simple. I don't have the broadcast. I'm not going to do your show again. I never went online and said, because I lost the Arnold Classic, because I ain't going to lie, I'm still a little bitter about it, you know. I lost the Arnold Classic. I was up by 3, lost by 7. And guess what? I never did the show again in Columbus. And what did I say? Just about 10 minutes ago, I wish I would have got one of those. See how that works? Of
course.
So it's like it was
25. It was 25 grand, by the way, for that men's physique first place. Which, how many other shows pay 25 or more?
1 or 2.
Okay.
Who else pays that?
I think Dubai is pretty high.
You're right.
I think Dubai is.
So then my question is, then why are we comparing one division to another division?
At the end of the day,
But no, I'm serious. Like, we got to stop. Like,
of course,
you know,
they're not
like,
the same.
Look, you just want to get paid more money.
Then sit down at the table and talk about it from business people and say, hey,
But
what
how
can
does
we do?
But then, okay, draw out a real proposal of why someone should pay that.
Of course.
I volunteer. I empower everybody to go figure this out. What is the formula that would get asses in the seats with just that division to substantiate why someone should get paid $50,000 to $100,000 for first place? Because if you figure that formula out, you're going to be a great businessman. You're going to do a great service to all the people involved. I think it's a free enterprise. I think, you know, I talked to Jim Mannion about this. Like, he's like, hey, Phil, like, if someone wants to pay this, go pay it. You know, we're not preventing someone from coming in and saying, hey, we want Men's Physique or Classic to make $500,000. They're just not doing it because of whatever metric they have.
Shows that they're not going to recoup.
But the metric that they're using is just for the amateur. And I guess that's the hill you're going to stand on. I mean, that's not, it doesn't make sense. I wish it did.
I want to ask a complete hypothetical here. If next year Arnold says, I'm not bringing Men's Physique,
okay,
are the ticket sales any different?
That I don't know, because I don't have those numbers. I don't have the data. I don't have the
The
data.
reason I'd say this,
you know,
was the Arnold in trouble before Men's Physique came about?
I don't know. I think it also depends on who's there. I think it also depends on what physiques are we going to see. I mean, look, like we had Aaron Banks, champion. You know, we had
Aaron's won Olympia and an Arnold.
right. So him alone, I mean, he's a draw. Diogo's a draw. I've seen him compete. He's somebody that I'm like, wow, like great physique.
Yeah, because, I mean, remember the broadcast had 300,000 or more, whatever.
Yeah, they had 300,000 people watching.
Yeah, so there's a draw.
He had a whole country behind him.
Right.
A lot
So
of these athletes.
there you go. So he's a draw. Ali Bilal, he has a draw. But you're talking about a live stream that doesn't charge, right? So like,
What I mean by draw is how many people are going to pick up, get up to an airport, fly there to come pay to see you.
Yeah.
That's what the draw. That's what I'm asking.
if
If it was removed,
That expo was pretty crowded, bro.
yeah, of course.
Right.
And they were
The
there to
expo was
watch
crazy.
the shows.
Yeah.
I would look. I was at the Panada booth, right, and the stage is like literally right there. Panada's
course.
right here. The stage right there. It was loud.
Of course.
So, I think they did a fantastic job of how they organized the show. But look, I think we all can agree, man. Like the conversation of just saying like the NPC has these numbers and everybody competes at it and makes a bunch of money. It doesn't. If you can acknowledge that the fact that doesn't funnel into the IFBB, into a promoter's hands to go say that, hey, look, if I had so I have the Phil Heath Super Show with Freddie, right?
Hey guys, Jay Cutler here. If you have not heard already, I launched my own TRT clinic. TRT Kingdom is now live. If you guys want to schedule your consultation, please click the link below and you'll get all the information you guys need for better health.
Here's what I would be willing to do. If I had this show and I was making so much money to where I wanted to put on a pro show because of the Men's Physique guys, why wouldn't I do a pro show, just Men's Physique? If I had, let's say, we'll just throw out a crazy number. Let's just say I had 250 Men's Physique guys competing, no crossover, at my show. And we had that consistently grow over time to where it's like 300, 400 people. I'd probably take that prize money and be like, man, we can afford to go have a pro show just of that category. Then that would make sense because it's my money, right? NPC gets paid too, but like it's my money. It's our money. Then we would have data that says, well, man, we got all these people and some of these people, how many people out of those people went pro? wow, we put on a lot of pros. Maybe I invite them to go do my show. I hire, 10 people, and then I pay them. Then that would make sense. That would be an argument. But like this other argument, man, like it doesn't work. Like it doesn't filter like that. And I welcome anyone to correct me if I'm wrong, but like the NPC is not responsible for the IFBB because the IFBB has their own promoters that pay sanctions and all sort of stuff.
I would assume, and obviously none of us have the data, but I would assume if the monies were that big on the pro side, that the pro league would have raised the sanction and would have raised the minimum prize money. If it was making that type of money, they would say, hey, man, the purse has to be 10. No, but they've done it over time. The purse has to be a minimum of 10,000 for this or minimum of 20 like they do because it's higher for each division has a certain value. And I don't know where they get those metrics from.
Yeah, I think we're dealing with data that is unfound. Like we don't know it. We can only speculate. We can only then pick on, and I say this lightly, but it's like we're kind of picking on the open division too much by saying like, oh, they get paid all this money and we don't get paid anything. It's like, guys, shout out to Jim Mangan, guys. You should be thanking him because if it wasn't for him and his staff, there wouldn't be no other divisions. We got to give credit to that.
To a certain degree, you can say these other divisions take from the open.
I mean, look.
Because guys are not going to the open. They're doing these other ones.
Look, it helps. I mean, look, like if it wasn't for open and then the leadership involved, the leadership decided to make things more inclusive for both men and women.
Yep.
We wouldn't have the champions that we have in all these other divisions. I just think it's a much deeper argument than to just say, well, so-and-so makes $500,000. We only make 25 and that's effed up. It's like, dude, like you got to come a lot stronger than that as an entrepreneur. Like what is your other argument? Like how would you make this make sense to some other businessman? It's just, until they do that, it's just going to sound like whining, create a real proposal as to what we're talking about. Otherwise it's just noise.
Look, some of the guys could come together and go find a sponsor that would come in and say, hey, man, we'd like to see us. We're willing to put up an extra $50K towards this. And I'm sure a lot of promoters would accept that. Okay, so I'm just the king of pushback today because I just love debate, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're that popular, they come to you.
Of course.
Right? I mean, if it was that popular for them to pay someone more money in that division, don't you think a company would have just done it already? If they would have seen value of saying like, because look, like there's got to be ROI from it. I think Brian Powers and Arnold Schwarzenegger are pretty smart people. I think Dan Solomon and Jake Wood are pretty smart to know like based on this data, we're going to increase it this much.
Yeah.
So who are we to criticize? Because it's not like their books are open for us to look.
Well, even the open, it went to 500, but we didn't talk about what second was.
Was it open?
It's Arnold.
Yeah.
What was it, like 150?
I think so.
150, yeah.
So that's a huge drop.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And I mean,
250 difference.
No, 350, bro.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 350. Well,
woo.
Yeah. I think there's 100. I think. I could be wrong, though.
I mean,
I have to look.
What do you think about that? That's a big jump, dude.
Winner takes all.
Winner takes all. You're right. I mean, there's only one really, truly happy guy out of that division.
Yeah, because if you put a 50 to 100K in your prep, meaning like a year's worth of work.
I mean, listen, I'm not going to, like 150 still more than what I get paid at that show, but I won it 20 years ago.
And you got a truck.
Yeah. And a watch.
And a watch. Hey, man, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no one talked about that, but it's just like with the Olympia going to 600 and the second place, so I think it was 250.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Matt, what's
so
the
250 went, so second was risen up too.
For what?
Olympia.
Yeah, the Olympia one's right here. I just saw it. The Olympia, second place is 250, third is 100, fourth is 40.
Okay, so it's kind of like on par with the Arnold, like as far as like the ratios are concerned.
Falls pretty hard, yeah.
I mean, look, there's so much more opportunity, but at the end of the day, I think there's much more other shows that guys.
It'd be really nice though when we see in X amount of years that the money in those second, thirds, and fourths and
those goes
up, and that comes down to sponsorship. And being a promoter, I understand the pain.
Yeah,
because you do have X amount in a box.
Yep.
and you say, okay, how can we do this distribution? You want to show love to all these divisions, but you have to look at what is the biggest driver of attendance and engagement. Unfortunately, like, we come from the old school, Phil, so we are looked upon as we're going to favor our category. But listen, as active promoters that promote amateur competitions, I applaud the new fit division. I applaud women's bikini. I
100%.
applaud men's physique. I applaud classic.
Yep.
But I can tell you that every person that comes to see me in the younger generation now, 9 out of 10 tell me I'm doing classic.
Yes.
And most that are doing men's physique say, I would like to go to classic. And then I would like to do bodybuilding, but I'm just not there yet. And I say, always ask the first question, how are your legs? Yep. Because we know if the legs are a little underdeveloped, which Arnold called out, because they say they judge the legs now a little bit. Like some of the shorts obviously are covering a little more lengthy than what his perception is being a promoter. So it's just more understanding what are the judging protocols. And once again, Arnold's not a judge. I'm not a judge. You're not a judge. You're not a judge.
100%.
We're just critics that can sit there and say, that guy looks great. Like, to me, like Brandon Hendrickson, crazy legs. Jeremy Buendia had great legs. Now, Ali's legs, I think his legs were better than Aaron Banks. But Aaron Banks is a taller,
he's a taller dude.
And it's just like
different.
It's like Derek's legs being better than Andrew Jack's. Andrew Jack's femur is this long, where Derek's is this long.
True that.
So this is where the judging procedures are out of our. We're not qualified judges. Where you can sit here and say, this is what I like, but that's preference. You might like a guy that's 5'9". I'm 5'9".
Yep.
You might like a guy that's a little taller.
Yes.
Even though you're not, you never competed.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you don't
relate
have
to
the
somebody
eye
that
for
looks similar to you.
Yes.
I agree. And the fans do the same thing, right? They go by who they relate to the most. And even a lot of these guys that are competing now that want to do classic, they're probably doing classic because they're fans of Chris. Yeah. You know? I mean, that's just the way it goes, dude.
And that's why he is the standard of what we envision classic physique. So who now is Mike Summerfield the new
I think we have to see come the
standard?
Olympia time.
Or
it's an empty.
Or is Terrence Ruffin still a standard since he sat out last year?
I think it's very interesting you mentioned that because it's very rare when you have, I think this is the first time, I believe, in the classic division.
Vacated?
Where it's a vacated title.
Yep.
And we all know when there's a vacated title, like in open, that's when a Ronnie Coleman shows up and then happens to win, right? You know, over someone that should have won.
Because we can't talk about Breon. He's out.
That's what I mean.
He's in 212 now.
So now you got, So
Danny Hester's not competing.
He said here he hasn't retired, though.
Oh, he did say that.
He said, I never retired.
Oh, I mean, he still looks great. He's still here. We still
lives
see
in
him
Vegas.
here. Yeah, he looks tremendous.
So, I mean, it would be very interesting. But even
is there such thing as a standard, Phil?
I don't think
in a
so.
division.
I don't think so because especially with open, there wasn't. I think there was a standard of excellence returning to. Look, I think of it like this: there's a standard of conditioning, there's a standard of shape, there's a standard of symmetry. Those are standards, right? Who exhibited those standards are the ones that usually win for quite some time. Like Dorian Yates was not like the standard of like roundness and such. He was a standard of conditioning and just grittiness, the graininess of muscles and stuff. Ronnie Coleman was probably similar, but that he was the standard of just being a total freak and, had the standard of a back double and a back lat spread. I believe,
Dexter Jackson beat me in the middle of my reign. What's the standard, Phil?
So that's the thing. I think
it's still a judging procedure.
Still a judging procedure is what they want that day. And here's the other part, even going back to this whole comment about, prize money and stuff. Men's Open guys don't get looked at for doing a 2-day show. They got to stop. Like Men's Open does 2-day.
Would you rather see it a 1-day contest?
Not anymore because I mean
you had to do it.
No, I'm saying I'm saying I want them to have to do it because I want them to understand. Like, look, I would have looked completely different if I was doing a 1-day show.
So you're saying no, you don't want it because you don't want them to go to the same.
Oh no! I'm saying just keep it the way it is. Just keep it the way it is.
I'd love to see a 1-day show.
You'd probably see the best physique in the world then.
Or you see someone shit the sheets. You know what I mean? Like for real. You can't recover, dude. you're gonna
Whoops.
get
You don't got a day to recover.
because
You got 4 hours to get ready.
I'm just gonna throw it out there, man.
Classic and
There's some
physique.
there's some judges. I mean, not some judges. There's some trainers out there that don't know what they're doing with these clients, and we've seen some of these guys, right? So you're gonna see someone try it. Hey, do this pie filling and do some jumping jacks or whatever, you know what I mean? And do all this other crazy crap. Hey, there's this new drug or something, like try that. You're going to see some messed up physiques, dude.
I'm going to keep saying it over and over. Men's Open should be Saturday at high noon on the expo stage.
What?
Yes.
He has a whole theory. You need to listen to his
Listen,
theory.
I don't even want to hear this shit. Mr. Olympia should never be on the expo stage.
It should.
No,
Because it's the biggest crowd.
Those lights,
Do you realize that?
Would you rather have 30,000 people screaming for you, or would you rather have 4,000 people at night?
it didn't matter. I just wanted the money and the title.
I know, but if there was 30,000, you would have got pumped for it.
Did you see? You haven't gone. Have you gone in the expo and saw? There's a strongman.
Yeah,
Arena.
off.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because
At the Arnold.
Yeah, but at the Arnold, because I'm there. I was there with KSM.
Yeah.
So I was able to walk.
Yeah.
And I was able to, I had to get through all those people. Look,
I'm just thinking from the fans' perspective.
from the fans, I mean, dude, it would be awesome for someone as a fan just to be walking around and be like, holy crap, there's Phil Heath on the stage like that. That's
you
sick.
realize-
Like that would be, everybody internet viral
Something different.
and stuff like that. Yeah, but
Shake it up a little.
Look at the reaction of the strongmen in the expo hall.
well, the strongmen are always going to have a strong reaction because they're doing something that none of us can even dream about
Feats, yeah.
doing.
But when you're at the Arnold, if you saw the Classic and the different divisions go on there, the sea of it was 30 yards deep, and it was just nothing but cameras, people watching.
I can tell you right now, like if Open was like, I can't tell you right now. I mean, I don't know if they have.
They'd have to obviously charge more for a ticket.
That's
like you'd have to have a separate ticket.
There's that other part. Yeah, they would have to put up like a wall because you have to at that point.
They have
like
it for the strongmen.
like the strongman.
yeah, you have to. I think it's hard for me to conceptualize because I'm always going to put myself in that category. Like if I was competing and would I be? Look, I'd compete anywhere.
So let me ask you this: if you knew a month in advance you had to peak at noon at this exact time after you've had 2 meals, do you think you'd look better, or after 6 or 7 meals at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night?
It's tough, man.
Till he was up against it, he probably couldn't say.
It's tough because you're right, because I think you and I have the same mentality of like we study who we're going against and like how we would prepare. The way I did, like, my prep would be predicated on what time I would go up on stage. Right?
You'd stay up late.
That's why he trained late. That's
So
why he
that's
did
why I trained
everything.
late. I
He
did all
looked
that
his
stuff.
best.
So I made sure, and I had to
Adjusted the time schedule too.
and I had to make sure that I was so good after eating 6-7 meals and training and still drinking a gallon and a half of water that I was still dry to take photos that night.
Yeah.
So I gauged my conditioning just off of that. I don't know if guys do that because, like, if you're doing it like first thing in the morning after 2 meals or whatnot, you're going to look pretty freaking incredible, and the timing could be completely off. I think you should.
This started going through my head when 2 years ago, no, last year,
That's why I trained late. I'll be honest. I trained late
to get your body
Well,
acclimated.
definitely for the show. I wasn't getting up at 6 in the morning and starting eating and everything else. No, I was delaying eating meals because I wanted to be like, by the time I hit that stage at 7 p.m., like I was 4 meals in. I wasn't 6 meals in and like, okay, I'm out of food.
Yeah, but you didn't. You had a real strategy behind it. Like you're probably. You helped me a lot because you would always say, like, don't pump up too much. Just move your arms. Just do this. And, and then you get a lot of people who have all this nervous ass energy and pumping up, like doing a full on workout backstage. And then they wonder why after some call outs, they flatten out. Majority of these guys also, in my opinion, because I see like people pumping up, I think because of the nervous energy, because of the fact that they just want to look so good, their body isn't primed to do 5 call outs. And how do you prepare for that now? The only way you prepare for it is that about a month out, like 30 days out, you're doing a hardcore simulation, and that might be harder than doing the 2-day show.
Yeah.
And that's a level of suffering along with all the other stuff.
Still can't prepare for it, Phil. Not with the heat of those lights and the adrenaline and
I tell you how I did it. I I had that infrared sauna, and I get my ass in there, and I start posing in it about a month out. I didn't share that with nobody, but I was doing that because I knew, I was like, you better, even if it was just quarter turns, Jay, because you told me, how do you think I beat you guys? And I was like, how? And you started doing quarter turns. And I was like, damn it, Jay, you're right. He beats our ass in 4 poses, 4 to nothing, just off of the quarter turns alone. So I need to know how to hold this quarter turn under these lights and under this heat. And you're absolutely right. I was thinking about you the other day. We're talking about, I was talking to a friend about like science and like sports science and stuff. And he was like, how do you guys keep your heat? You know, because you're so like hot and this and that. And I said, well, we take those ice packs and we stand on them. Little tricks like that, but stand on them too long can flatten your physique out too, because there's
totally
daily.
Forgot about that. Remember they'd have the ice packs back there?
You break the ice packs, punch them, stand on them, and you stand on them. We'd be leaning over like this. And only Jay and I did it.
Yeah.
And when Jay retired, people watch me do it, and they're just like, why is he doing
wrong
that?
with you?
What's wrong with him? I'm like, because I got to keep my...
that.
It's like UFC fighters putting it on the chest. You know, you're trying to just calm things down. You do it too long, though, like you'll flatten out. No question about it, because your body temperature go down just a... You ain't gonna
I
get
would
comfortable.
lay on the concrete though a lot. You'd see me
Yeah.
laying backstage, and because of cold floor,
Yes.
just to keep me cool.
Yeah, because you'd be burning hot.
Of
But
course.
yeah, no, I think I think there should be like a, you know, you see these other shows that are coming up. Have a 1-day show. Let's just see these open guys do it. You know, like the Dubai Pros and those shows. You know,
Pittsburgh Pro.
Yep.
Tyler just announced that they're having
At the expo.
at the expo.
Men's prejudging at the expo.
There you go. So I mean, look,
Hey, they're trying it.
look. I'm happy. I'm happy that these guys have more than one way to earn. Look, at the end of the day, I mean, I think bodybuilders should be able to compete anywhere, right? They should be able to, if they had to compete outside in a parking lot with some lights, like, you know, wherever it is.
During COVID.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, some outside.
Dude, I was at a show in
We're fun here in Vegas.
Bro, I was at a show in Okinawa, and they had to do prejudging outside in the sweltering heat. So if those Okinawans can go do a show, like we could do it too. But I just think if you're, look, it goes back to, are you a basketball player or are you a hooper, man? If you're a bodybuilder or are you just a competitor for social media, you know, like if you're a real bodybuilder, man, you don't care where it is. If you're a bodybuilder, you show up, you know how to adjust. Like if it was in the prime location, the prime lighting, the prime situation, yeah, I mean, I would love to see that too, bro. And I know we all bitch about it and we want them to have the expediters to get them out when they say 9 o'clock. I mean, look, like I competed in 2020. I was supposed to go up on like at 7:45. We didn't go up until 9:20. I was already done.
Already pumped and deflated.
I was done.
I remember that. Remember when Phil walked out and you didn't have the push on your
I
muscle.
was done, dude. I was already behind the 8 ball already. You know, I already missed, but I was like, so we're really I was like, I can't pump up again because I don't know how long Steve's going to have my ass out there. So I didn't really do it again. And I got cameras following me around, so I can only imagine how these guys feel. But overall, these competitors have to train very hard. They have to do whatever is uncomfortable, maybe even 8 weeks out. We're talking about like real posing, man. Like we're like round after round, like where you're like, and I don't understand why guys wouldn't, because Big Steve will literally say it like, you guys want to see more? You got one more in you? I'm like,
Gonna pose till somebody fades.
thank you. But if you're a savant of your physique, which you should be a freaking savant when it comes to your physique, not nobody else's. How many rounds can I do before I start fading? And where do I fade the most? Start figuring this out 6 weeks out. Now you're going to figure this out. We're giving out so much free game today is ridiculous, but like it's true, man. Like from Jay saying like the cardio situation, how many guys actually doing two 45-minute sessions of step mill? 6 days a week. I was doing 6 days a week. I'm sure you're doing the same.
I was doing 7 actually.
There you go. And I was doing my shit in altitude. You've been there. It's not easy.
People thought you had a secret weapon with that. Do you feel it was an advantage to you?
During the Olympia, yeah, when I came to Vegas, I would not sweat at all. I was already acclimated. I was happy. I was like, hey,
How's
let's
it
go.
feel now to function outside of that altitude?
You might not have realized it when you were living in it because you were there for years.
I can tell you when
Is your conditioning better or
when we
worse?
moved from Denver to Florida, and I would train, it was so easy to get a pump. I'd be in the gym and, you know, I'm already retired and I'm just like, God dang, dude, this is a cheat code. Now I've been so far removed from Denver, like I would probably have to train there for a month and then go back down. But yeah, I definitely believe I had an advantage. At least it was psychological, you know, but I did remember seeing guys like you were fine on stage because you lived here.
This is still a little bit of an altitude.
Yeah, it's like
to a lot of places,
2,200. You know, it's enough. It's enough.
It's enough. Yeah,
it's enough to get somebody, you know, and the dryness, the desert heat, man. Like, look, I would watch guys backstage like kind of sucking wind, and I used to laugh because I'm like, man, like the altitude is definitely helping me out. But I also went from playing basketball, you know, from sea level going to Denver. I couldn't run I could run like a 550 mile in high school. I ran a 603 the first time I did it in Denver. Why is it a big difference? Altitude. So when you build up those red blood cells and all that stuff, and now you're on gear and all that stuff, like, come on, man, I'm doing the cardio.
It's a natural EPO.
Basically, coming
do
down here.
Do you miss your season tickets for basketball?
Well, I missed them when they won that championship.
Yeah. Are you still a Denver fan?
Oh yeah. I'm
Is that still your
fan.
favorite team?
Yeah, favorite team to watch. I'll always be a Laker fan also. But yeah, Denver Nuggets all the way. I mean, I love Jokic. I remember when he was a rookie, and remember Scott Hastings would call the game, and he would talk to me after the game. He was like, that guy's going to be the best in the league. He might be the best.
Did you believe it?
At first, I was like, what the hell are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like the best in the league. And then when he said the best, dude, I watched it, man.
30-20-20.
Cherie was actually surprised that I wasn't screaming and hollering.
It's the first time it ever happened in history.
She was like, wait a minute, he just had 31 points, 20 and 20? I was like, yeah. She goes, and you're not jumping on the couch? I was like, I know, right?
That's like some Wilt Chamberlain shit. And he never did it.
Bro, it's never been done. But yeah, Denver's still my team. I'm starting to have less people I know that play in the league.
That's what I mean. That's why I'm
so I don't,
asking you.
Yeah, so I don't have
Are you
as
following
many.
it as close now? Because, like, we've talked about this for years. You know, there's certain sports that I follow. I mean, I watch everything. I even like baseball, but this is the first year he's actually watched games. I watched probably not as much
Yeah.
now,
You know,
which I probably should, because obviously Celtics winning last year, coming from Boston, it was a big,
It's a big deal.
yeah, I mean, Cavs are doing really well right now, which
But they get no publicity.
I know.
It's so sad.
But they're on fire right now.
They can't. It's like they can't lose. And yeah, I mean, Denver's in second place. Lakers are in third. You got OKC in top place.
Yeah. The West is gonna be a bloodbath.
The way
I think you'll settle in and get season tickets. I know you're kind of all over the place right now as far as, you know, you've moved around a little bit since you left Denver.
We'll move again.
And do you,
Well, you got to live somewhere where there's a team too.
I know.
I gotta.
But you know, hey, listen. We're gonna have a team here in a couple of years, so we'll make sure that you just come out and we'll go to games.
I'll tell you what. Like, you know, there's two places where I would love to see a sports franchise. Obviously here, because it's an easy place to travel, and I know you guys, and we all could go hang out and talk trash. But also in my hometown of Seattle. Seattle has a great, you know.
Well, they had the Supersonics there.
And they got taken away
OKC.
from OKC, so they deserve to have bring my Sonics back.
Everyone forgot about Kemp and
Yeah, dude.
Detlef.
It just sucks, man. Like if those, you know, it kills
Derek
me.
Payton.
Dude, it kills me, man. But if Seattle got another franchise, I would do my best to get season tickets.
So it shows our age, you know, when I start mentioning Supersonics.
I know.
Like,
Like,
we
what's
had
that?
posters when I was in high school.
Sean Kemp.
Yes.
Dude, the Rain Man.
Yes, yeah.
You had posters of Xavier McDaniel,
Get
Dale
dumped on.
Ellis, and we were old school,
Think
but
about the colors of the uniforms, you know what I mean?
green and yellow,
Yeah.
man. Like,
They were kind of ugly as shit in the beginning. They
in
were
the
real
beginning,
ugly.
it just yellow and Sonics and stuff. But you know what's funny about, like, now we're talking about this shit? You can still have those ugly colors or whatever, like just the green and the yellow and the white. But if you saw that like a Mitchell and Ness store here in Vegas, you would want to buy it
Of course.
because it's just old throwback, you know?
You know what's funny? I have a whole
neat.
collection of Dennis Rodman jerseys,
There you go.
but from all different just colors.
There you go, dude.
Just Rodman.
I just found out. So get this. So I'm sitting at the house. I'm watching, just watching regular TV. I get a text from a friend that I used to play against in college. He used to play pro-am. I guess he went to Princeton. He's like, hey, I'm sitting next to your boy. I was like, who? He's like, KB. And I was like, I only know one KB, and his name is Kevin Burleson, right? Whose brother is Nate Burleson, that's on TV everywhere, and played for the Detroit Lions and Seattle Seahawks, all that stuff. They were like my childhood friends. We went to elementary school, middle school, played against each other in high school. So I was like, what's KB doing? He goes, oh, well, he coaches for the Detroit Pistons. And I was like, wait a minute, JB Bickerstaff's the head coach, Bernie Bickerstaff's son.
Yeah.
I know JB from playing against him at summer camp because his father had the camp that I went to, right? Because he coached for the Sonics. That's right. I did not know that Kevin coaches, because I thought he coached for Houston. He was coaching for their G League team. So come to find out, like he's the assistant coach for the Detroit Pistons and happens to live down the road from me. And I just thought it was hilarious that
Pacific West Injury Law. Injured? Call 602-HURT. Car accident? Call 602-HURT. Our firm is dedicated to you and your recovery.
I have a childhood friend I went to elementary school with, I played against in high school, who's now coaching for a team that is in my new town. I live north of Detroit. That happens to be around the corner from me. I still haven't seen him. So I was like, damn, maybe I should get season tickets, to that team.
Yeah.
Just because they're not that good and they're probably cheap. But I can see the other team.
Maybe they'll have another brawl.
Well, let's hope
Palace
not.
at the Palace.
So what you do is, for anybody that gets season tickets, what you do is you don't buy it on the home team side. You buy it on the opposing team side. That's what I did. Because the goal
To a
is
game with you there.
Yeah.
A couple, yeah.
Yeah, we went to a couple games. Seats were good, right? It's like 4 rows up behind the opposing team's bench. You always want to do that because then you can hear what they have to say, and there's a new team every week. And that's how I knew, like, a lot of those NBA guys, like, love bodybuilding, because their strength and conditioning coaches would be like, you know what that is? And they're like, yeah. You see, like, Dwight Howard and doing like this. I mean, you've ran into all these NBA guys. They know who you are. Yeah. And, I always tell people, like, bodybuilders set the trends for other sports because we know how to diet, we know how to exercise, but we are the guys that set the standard for the most muscular. We're the ones that hit the front double bicep. The same
It happens after someone scores a touchdown.
They do the most muscular.
What does LeBron do after he does it?
Yeah, he over
most
here,
muscular.
Yeah,
Yep.
Even Ronaldo takes the shirt off and hitting the freaking most muscular, showing his pecs, showing his abs. You get these guys, and it's just funny because I always felt for a long time, like when I got into sport, watching Jay and Ronnie, I'm like, they should be respected so much more by athletes. I mean, I know there's a respect, but like globally, like on television, because everybody wants to have muscles like these guys. And I see it more now today, like everybody's like hitting the bicep and stuff. And
I see it. I've noticed the other day, every time Cooper Flagg does something, he does the most muscular.
I'm like, who'd you get this from? And it's great to know that, like,
yeah,
we do have a level of influence. I think it's dope.
Bodybuilders influence more influential people than any other industry I've ever been a part of or seen.
What do you guys think of bodybuilding as far as, like, first of all, I do believe it's a sport. Second of all, I do believe that is one of the toughest sports to do. The reason is because you have to eat, and you have to be intentional how you eat. You have to know the timing of how you eat. It doesn't matter, and you can't go out partying. You can try. We already seen people do it, but you ain't gonna do well.
I had you out partying before.
Yeah, it's true, but I was a genetic freak, so it didn't matter. Like,
we were at excess.
Yeah, but not as
it was after the show.
Yeah, it's after, but yeah, I mean, and then the dehydration.
Well, yeah, you have coaches, you have scores, it's just.
But I mean, it's hard though because, like, and I the reason why I say it's hard because unlike any other sport, the emotional part of it, you and I can speak about it because we competed. Sorry, Matt, but like you'll understand what I mean by this. The emotional aspect of competing is very big because you're being judged by how you look with no clothes on.
Of course,
there's no other sport that has that type of pressure. And I get into debates with friends, because of other sports that they love and such, and they're like, "Oh, you talk about this bodybuilding stuff." I'm like, I'm telling you, would you ever take your shirt off in public and allow people to just judge you based on how you look, not based on how hard you trained, what you took, or no? This is about how you look at this given moment in time next to another man, and you're going to be judged.
Damn near naked.
Damn near naked.
Not just shirt off, naked.
And they all kind of like. And then they realize, like, holy crap. I'm like, yes. So there's a certain IQ and EQ that goes into bodybuilding that I think gets missed by a lot of people in the general public.
Anyone who gets on stage, you have to have a certain level of respect for them.
Yeah, I think
just
it's like
to do it.
gymnastics or ice skating. I mean, listen, how your body flows, when you get into position, there's certain things that they do performance-wise that, like, they're harder to do, right? I mean, I think for us, to do those quarter turns and have your body in
Contorted that way?
Yes, in that symmetry and have the midsection. I mean, it's like when we say back double bicep. I mean, it'd be nice if you were just hitting a back double and all you're showing you is a back, but it's like a whole hamstrings, the tie-ins, the body, the positioned, tip the biceps back so the biceps show.
That rotate
there's
elbow
so
back
much that goes into it.
I don't think people understand. And
it's not easy to do. I mean, it's not like you can just whip into poses and hold them there for a number of seconds plus and do time and time and time again.
That's why I think it's one of the hardest sports.
For sure.
It doesn't get acknowledged.
I think anyone in any sport would say that, though, whether it's boxing. Think about the time a boxer puts in to train for a fight.
No, I'm saying, we're not.
It's 24 hours for you guys, though. 24 hours.
I'm not saying.
I think a lot, like a LeBron James. I mean, he's at the highest level, yes.
But you know how many guys don't go out and party and eat, and they still go play games?
They say for a 2:00 game, he's there shooting. For he's there at 2:00 for a
7 p.m.
o'clock
game.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a few.
That's why he's where he's at.
There's a lot of players that do that. I remember even watching like guys like Ray Allen. He would have like his own shooting schedule, but that was back in. But he had his schedule, and then what was that derived from? Like a Reggie Miller, people like that. Where does Steph Curry get this stuff from? Mark Price works with that team. Like you got Steve Kerr. Like you got these people. That consult and they help and they develop these players a certain way, and then they just take it on a whole other level. But I just feel like when you're being judged based on not just how you train, how you diet, but how you do the cardio, but the intentionality with contorting your muscles a certain way. Look, man, I mean, there's no other sport that requires that. And then also, I still believe I've torn, muscles because of the posing more than anything. I tore my MCL definitely from competing, because when you're trying to, like you said, Jay, like hitting the back double bicep, but you got to kick that leg back. And then I learned later on in my career, you might kick it back so far that it's too much. So what do? You kick it out just a little bit here, and then you hit the angle. So you got your knee out here, and then you got your leg here, and you're squeezing. Luis Santa, right? Dude, he tore his MCL, ACL. I think it was his MCL or ACL posing. I was there. It was in Colorado, and I watched him, and I thought he tore his hamstring. I ran backstage. This was like 15 years ago. I remember running backstage. I was like, dude, you got to get back on stage, man, because you're going to get DQ'd, and I think you're going to win this whole show. And he was like, yeah, I got it. So then I talked to him later. He's like, dude, I tore my whole knee up.
Well, Martin tore his hamstrings at the Prague.
At Prague, I think, posing, didn't he?
Yeah.
You'll do it.
I think, it's something he did something.
You'll do it, bro. You'll do it.
Yeah.
You'll do it. So it's imagine that. Not everybody is as good as Jay Cutler that he can make you think that he's posing when he's not. He'll be like, yeah. And I'm like, dude, you're not even squeezing hard. He's like, no, I just know how to fake it. You were like the king of hitting it Jay could hit a pose 70%, but it looked like 120%.
You know what I was saying? You guys, especially when you start dieting, you don't have 1 second off, because you have to eat a certain amount. You have to sleep. From the time you wake up, everything you do that whole day has to be calculated, where other sports, you don't necessarily have to do that.
Well, you don't have other people to pick you up when you have a bad night either.
But meaning your diet, every piece of rice you put in has to be accounted for.
Well, I always looked at it that way because I knew who I was going against. This is even when
he was building. He's building, but look how much he improved over time.
Yeah.
But that's what repetition, year after year after year.
Do you think a lot of the guys now just do you think that? Here's my question: for the guys that aren't getting in shape, are they bad listeners?
No, I think that the judging standards, I think the roundness has taken over look at the physiques, how I think a lot of guys are just big and round.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it started with us, but I feel like a lot of guys, look at Logan, for example.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to talk about classic physique.
Yeah.
Like Mike, was Logan in better condition than Mike in certain areas, maybe? But he still needs more size.
Yep.
To be, but everyone's saying there's an argument is he more classic than Mike?
See, I think that's
and obviously the judging procedures is telling Mike that you're the ideal because you won. But Logan's condition was definitely tremendous.
I think so too.
And was it maybe that he made such an improvement from being 10th or out of the top 10 at last year's Olympia to now this? Like he went from, I mean, he made a huge.
Yeah, he nailed it. I mean, he was my dark horse going into the Classic, and I will say that watching this year's Arnold made me be more of a fan of Classic. Not that I wasn't before.
Which is pretty amazing because Bumstead, I mean, everyone talks about like Chris made that division, but seeing that battle, and honestly, that was the most I paid attention. It's the first show I watched in a long time.
I hadn't watched it,
Yeah.
Because that was a legit, you could have argued either way and you wouldn't have been wrong.
I mean, look, like they both were great and they're both different, but they both were classic. And I think when these guys online just say like, oh, well, this guy's not classic, you know, I'm like,
it's all bodybuilding.
You can't look, man.
It's still too early to know what
that's what I'm saying.
The ideal is
right. Like
still a new division in a sense.
So like, was Danny Hester not classic? Was Breon not classic? Like, what are we talking about? Like, what does that mean? And
do you remember the early? Who was the one that was talking about classic? There was a bunch of guys that were supposedly like built for classic. There was some really good guys in the beginning. There was the guy with the super small waist that.
Oh yeah,
I forget.
Steven. Yeah, dude, that Lazarius.
Yes.
Bro,
he was like the.
What
they came out with
him?
classic? I don't know, but like he had the crazy proportions.
Bro, I'm telling you, I remember seeing that. But
Lazarus or something.
Yeah, I remember seeing him at the Arnold one year at that.
And he was like a top 3 guy.
And I'm like,
yeah, I don't know.
Whatever you're doing, like all you need to do is just
condition,
and it's a wrap. I'm sorry, man, but like, yes, it was him and another dude that I'm thinking like if they would have just hung it, and stayed with it, I think he would have. Man, I don't want to disrespect anybody, but I just think I'll just say this: if he would have stuck with it, he would have been the one that pushed Chris, for sure. Because
I think there's people out there that we don't know about. I think we're going to see more surprises come out of Classic than Open at this point.
Probably because they're, you know, it's the
one that everyone's chasing.
Yeah, they want to do.
But you know why? You can see the Open guys coming from a mile away. Some of the Classic guys can just pop up real fast.
That's true too. Because I mean, yeah, it also takes longer for a guy in Open to develop, right? Yeah. So you can see him coming from a mile away because the minute they do a show, you're like, oh, okay, this guy's on the radar.
Like when you turned pro, people knew you were going to make noise right away, but it still took
there was no other division though. Yeah, it took me a while.
Still took you 5 or 6 years to get at that top where you're battling for the Olympia.
It took me, oh shit, I don't know, man. I turned pro in 05. I got third at the Olympia in 08. Yeah. It took me 3 years.
3 years. Tell top 2. That's what I said.
Oh, okay, top 2. Yeah, 5. It took me 5.
5 years.
You know,
and that was 5 years where you took 2 years off.
Oh, the Olympia.
Just to grow.
I know. At 3 years is usually a thing. I went from 15th to 8th to 2nd.
I think
3 years. There's
another point also that we have to consider is that when people say they're taking off, they got to come in better. I'm going to take some time off. You better come in with something tremendous because we live in this world of social media, and if we're not wowed, because I still think like even when I took those 2 years, I still competed in the spring, but then took the year off for the Olympia. If it was during social media, I would probably got scrutinized even worse because, you know, they want to see you. So it goes into like, I know, what's the name? Wesley Bissers, you know, I guess he said that he wanted to take some time off.
See that, yeah.
I saw that online. And I'm like, I wish him all the best. I don't think it's that much of a, you know, crazy improvement that he has to make. I mean, it just comes down to a few things like, can you grow those legs or not? If you can't, have you done an x-ray? Have you done like some, you know what I'm saying? Like,
little research.
You just got to do some research. You got to look at like, you know, is there an underlying issue as to why they don't grow the way that your upper body does? And once you figure that out, I mean, I don't think it would be more than like a couple pounds of real muscle that you could grow over. I mean, you could probably do it in 6 months, I would assume, but I don't know how he trains, right? But you know, I think that's a perfect example of like, hey, he's classic, but he doesn't have to get the legs like so round. You know, he just has to
just a little bit more.
Look at Logan. Like he didn't have to get big, like super big. He just had to come in condition, just have everything pieced together. But Mike Summerfield is very hard to beat. I mean, the guy's 5'7", great poser. It's hard to beat that guy in the posing. You know, Logan did amazing. But Mike,
great poser
but
too.
Mike is, dude. That's a tough one, man.
I think Mike was the only person that ever scored points against Chris, didn't he? Chris didn't have perfect scores this last.
Well, I can see why. I mean, the guy.
He's put together.
Well, he also had weapons, and I think that's where, if I was to coach people, which I kind of do at this point privately, I help some amateurs out. My question always is, what weapons do you have? Like, you have weapons. I have weapons. Ronnie had weapons. If you don't have weapons, you're barely going to win. What pose do you just own everyone? I mean, own them all. And then also the ones that you don't own them, are you still winning? Like, for me, I could say, like, okay, like, I can't throw you in there because you and I actually tied. Like, I actually have a list. That's what I was trying to tell Dexter that time we got into it. I kept a list. I was like, what's my win-loss record against all the guys I competed against? You and I are tied. Everybody else I beat like 5-1, 6-1, 8-1, 10-1. And then I start breaking it down. Like, what poses do I beat this guy at? Like, hands down. Which ones do I give up?
And you improved a lot, probably, that where they were beating you. And
like, for instance, I would make sure, like, when I went against Ramy, I was like, I'm not going to get my quads as big as his, no question about it. I'm not going to, but I can get harder and I can get a little bit rounder. That's going to
tie-ins here.
Yeah, I can work to my strengths, and that's how you do it, man. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to be wide as Jay. That's just impossible, but I can get rounder in the belts because I'm going to train less arms, and it's just going to look that way. These guys have to have real weapons, and they can't lose. I guess my point is like Dexter Jackson is a great example. I don't think he had like a lights out shot, but he was like 9, like out of 10.
He didn't have
like,
a bad shot.
Right. Like, he was like 9.
His abs and thighs were pretty good, actually.
Right. So let's say, okay, so like he would say that would be a 10, but like none of the other poses were like a 6 or a 7. You got guys up there that have like a 10 in one pose and then like a 4 in the next. And I think the judges pay attention to that too. Like, hey, the reason why you're not winning or placing in the top 3 is because, bro, like, this might be one good pose that you have, but that's all you got. You only got one weapon.
I'd said that with like Samson, for example. He doesn't have a shot where he knocks everybody out, but he doesn't have a bad, like, he's competitive with all of them.
What about his most muscular?
I think Hottie's is better.
Yeah. Touche.
Grainy.
Just because of the grainy.
I'm with you on that. I wasn't thinking, it's funny, I wasn't thinking of Hottie because he wasn't at the Arnold.
Funny how fast you forget, isn't it?
But Samson doesn't have a shot where he gets owned, but he's right in the mix with every single shot.
I think we all can agree. I mean, Samson just has to have a thicker back, and actually he's got to pull a Christmas tree. Yeah. If you got slabs of beef back there.
Just hard to compete against Derek now with back double. I mean,
well, the kid was training that back like it was
freaking
chest and arm day. Like,
that's, what? After we saw Derek have his all-time best, and then Hottie had his all-time best at the Arnold the year before, look forward to the Olympia to see if both of these two can nail it again.
Dude, is Derek doing, so Derek's doing more shows, right?
That's a word.
So Hottie's just lurking in man, I got to get to Dubai or something just to hope to see him.
I think I'm going to go in June.
Talk a little bit about your schedule leading up, and then we'll wrap this thing up. But so you've been pretty active now in social.
Yep.
You're doing some coaching stuff.
Yep.
Now.
So philfit.com.
I noticed. I joined actually your emails and stuff.
Oh, cool. So we have, training that goes SMS. Everybody was like, oh, I'll just pay, $6 a month just to go get some training and such. These are just workouts that I've done over the course of my career that I like. I just want to share them, make it easy for people. But it's the live coaching that they love the most. And I actually really enjoy it because, you hire me on for 30 minutes. I usually go over. I actually have it in my schedule for an hour. And it's usually 30 minutes that they're paying for, but I give them usually 45 to an hour. And we go over anything, training, diet, posing, but also just life. Like, how do you deal with this? Like the performance.
So it's mostly calls. A lot of these.
Yeah. So a lot of the calls. So
Skype, I'm like on a video call.
Yeah. So I do video calls like throughout the day, and that's been very rewarding. I still do some performance coaching with some sports teams. Right now it's a different off season for NCAA. I'm not working with any basketball teams because of March Madness. And then, some other endeavors, you guys saw me at the White House, right? So like, just getting my feet into those doors and really just wanting to champion the health and wellness initiatives.
Well, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I was invited to the inauguration, right? Sheree and I went, we had a good time. It was so freaking cold that we didn't go to all those parties that you saw online because it was like 4 degrees out and there was no Uber. So we had to walk like half an hour to go get
Everything was closed off.
Everything was closed, dude. Like it was like a ghost town. So I got invited to go to a thing for Black History Month. It was like February 13th. And then I was like, I'm not going. It's too short notice. I'm just not going to do it. And then it got snowed in. So they moved it. They pushed it another week. So I was like, oh, I'll go. So I went. It was awesome. Yeah. East Wing, it was crazy security. I mean, I had like 4 different checkpoints and stuff. So, but it was legit, man. I got, for me, it was awesome because I got to run into a lot of different entrepreneurs and a lot of influencers, that are on the conservative side. But, I never considered myself I'm not like a far right dude, but like more center right. But I am conservative, no question about it. I'm not, I those beliefs I align with. But it was just neat to meet other people.
I know, but Trump called you out, man.
Yeah, dude, the President of the United States called you out.
So I'll tell you the story about it, right? So like they have the rope and he doesn't, they have like a scheduled time where he's supposed to come out, right? So they have like full on, like band playing music and, they got hors d'oeuvres and then they had like another room where they had like real food.
Hey guys, Jay Cutler here. If you have not heard already, I launched my own TRT clinic. TRT Kingdom is now live. If you guys want to schedule your consultation, please click the link below and you'll get all the information you guys need for better health.
I'm chilling with, Marcellus Wiley. Uh-huh. So I'm chilling with him. We're talking. And I'm, just working the room, just like, hey, what do you do? Oh, I work in data AI, oh, what do you do? Oh, I do this. I work in health and wellness. Oh, we should connect, So then we go to the main room. Well, by that time, I was kind of like in the middle of the pack because there were so many people that just wanted to wait up front so they could be on TV. And I was like, I'm not doing that, man. Like, what am I going to do? Just sit there and stare at Trump like this all day? So as he's talking, he brings out Tiger and I'm like, man, this is dope. So I got my camera out, and I was like, man, I'm like right there. I'm like probably like in the middle. Mm-hmm. So Trump's talking quite a bit. And I was like, man, I need to go grab me something to drink real quick. So as I'm walking out, he called my name and I was like, shit, I was just up front, like, so he's like, hey, Phil, I'm like way in the side, and you're trying not to make a scene. I was just trying to be cool about it. Because what am I going to do? Like, move out of my way. I need to go get my handshake. So when that happened, I was like, man, I literally just had my phone going, put it back in my wallet. Put it back in my coat pocket. I'm getting ready to grab a water. And he calls my name. I had to take a moment and be like, how did that really feel? And I was like, this is the coolest fucking thing ever. And I don't give a damn what people say about Trump.
It's the president of the
United States calling your name. And he literally said 7-time Mr. Olympia. I would not want to compare the muscles. And I just thought it was dope. Got to meet with some of his people and was just like, hey, thank you. How can I become more involved in the health initiatives that RFK is doing and stuff like that? So that's really what was the highlight of that trip. And then also I got to hang out with, who Judge Joe Brown?
Of course.
We saw it. Yeah.
He's great.
Dude, that man, bro, if you could ever get him here, just if you want to talk politics or whatever, like you just want to talk about like his time, on TV, you got to sit with him, man. This guy's got stories on stories.
Oh, sure.
And blackmail on blackmail, like on people.
Yeah.
He is a national treasure. He was a great guy. He actually wanted to go out. So it was me, him. He was like, yeah, I'm going out. I was like, you want to go? Because there was an after party with Kodak.
Yeah.
Because Kodak Black was in town. And I was like, you want to go see Kodak Black? He's like, yeah. I was like,
how old is he?
77 years old. I was like, how many glasses of wine have you had? He's like, man, this is my third. I was like, we going. So it's me. So I grab the Uber. He and I go, and we meet up with the late Jim Brown's daughter, Kimberly. And she's awesome. So we're just like, got a little crew going. And then I see David Harris Jr. and all those other people. And then they're like, hey, come hang out upstairs. There's Kodak Black. And I'm like, I'm about to film this shit. So he's singing, he's doing this thing. He was a really nice guy, but that weekend or that time there was a great 48 hours. I'm glad I did it. I look forward to, I would love to meet Trump because I met Biden. I was at his house in 2015. I never posted it, but to say that I met another president, I mean, that was pretty sick. So I'm glad I have on my Instagram my documentary, Trump, and then Arnold. It's sick. Yeah.
I always thought it was cool to see presidents go to events, like when Trump goes to UFC, or when Obama went to a basketball game, or when Bush went to a baseball game. Like, it's just cool to make it look like the leader of the country is one of us, and he enjoys the things like that we do. I think makes him feel like a normal person.
I mean, look, I believe that Trump knows about our sport because of Arnold and just the sport. I mean, a lot of people that we wouldn't think know about bodybuilding, they know.
Of course.
The connections.
Well, remember, he had the TV show, so he dealt with a lot of personalities.
Yeah.
He was more in tune with before social media, probably.
He knows who all the... Yeah. If you're somebody, he knows who you are.
Yes. I mean, in fact, like during the Olympia week last year, I went to the Trump Hotel, and he was there filming with...
Yeah, he was here. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he was there.
Yep.
And they were trying to get me to go up to go meet with him, but I had to go to International Sports Hall of Fame. I was like, damn, I really have a chance to go meet this man at the hotel, the same hotel that I stayed at for 10 years.
Yeah.
But it was dope, man. Say what you want, but I think meeting his staff at least, he's been first class. That was a first class experience. You guys would have, I mean, bro, I'll show you guys pictures. It was, to stand in the same, we're in the East Wing. I got to stand in the room, like if you watched the inauguration when he pulled up in the car with Biden, and they all went into this room. I got to stand in that same room where there was like handshakes, and they closed the door, and they were signing documents and stuff. I was in that room.
That's
so cool. Just to know that, I stood in a room of history, and
and
I know you love history, so
love it.
All these books from like all the different presidents were there. They had murals of like all the presidents and the first ladies in there. Different like plates and dishes and the favorite mugs and stuff. But like what I liked the most was there was a really cool like lithograph of Ronald Reagan and also of JFK. It was just, and I saw everybody taking pictures by it too, like those two, like everybody's taking pictures, but I saw them standing next to Ronald Reagan and JFK. It was almost like you felt like certain energy in that place.
I've been all over the world to see history stuff, and I've never went and spent time in D.C. just to see the history, which I need to.
Yeah, I went to tour the White House and stuff. It was pretty cool.
It's dope, right?
Yeah.
When'd you go?
With Guy Cisternino, we went on a private tour.
Nice.
So that was go down
7 or 8 years
I
ago.
saw Chef Rush there, was actually cooking when I was there. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I walked back, I saw his arms, and that's before he really...
That was before he blew up,
like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who was in office then? Was that Obama or...
Yeah, he was there. Yeah.
Cool.
And they talked about the presidents and how cool they were and whatnot. So, but so you have a lot of stuff going on. I mean, you're in Vegas for
so we're in Vegas for HFA.
Okay,
formerly known as URSA. So I'll be there with Panada. So tomorrow, I'll actually be going to Strength Culture. I think I'll see you there.
Yep.
I'm gonna bring Regan down.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna pose him down then.
Yeah.
Get in his ear.
Get in his ear a little bit.
We got another cool podcast tomorrow too. Yeah, a good history one.
Oh.
Did you say who it is?
Yeah, Ed Connors.
Whoa.
We have Ed Connors, yeah.
That's dope, man. Yeah. You guys go way...
That's a history lesson.
Yes, that'll be pretty cool. So what else is on the agenda for the year? You're traveling a lot more this year. I mean,
so we're doing that this week. So I had...
seems like you've been popping around a little bit.
Yeah, just making the rounds, especially at the first half of the year. Just want to stay busy, after the Arnold Classic. So, of course, we started at the beginning of the year. I went to White House to Dad, went to Arnold, just went to San Jose to meet with Mind Pump, came here, holla at you guys. Tomorrow, go Strength Culture, then start HFA, go there for 2 days, do that with Panada. And then Friday, I fly out to Austin, Texas to then go do the NPC seminar with Adela and JM and all those guys. So that'll be cool. Get back. I might stay a couple extra days just to go tour around. And then I think that's it. That's it for March. FIBO for sure. I get there a day before you guys. So I'll be there with Panada and KSM. And then from there, I go to Sacramento I'm actually doing plant medicine out there.
Okay.
Yeah, doing cactus out there. I've done toad before. Never really broadcasted that, but yeah, I did that once. And now I'm going to do cactus with one of my good friends, and that'll be very interesting. And then after that, I think I got a couple speaking gigs at the end of April. And then Misha Tate just told me about her fight May 3rd in Des Moines, Iowa. So I don't know. If I have it available, I might try to go. Because she's, 38 years old, and, I know she's got fights still in her, but it would be cool to kind of watch it. And then I think it's New York. And then or is it Mang?
Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh is the next week, and then
Yep. So I'm definitely going to Pittsburgh, and then after that, I've got a speaking gig, and then I'll be at Rimini at the end of May, and I'll stay in Italy. I'm going to go to Italy, Spain, Malta, and this, the year just keeps going on, and before you know it, it's the Olympia, all over again. This year's already flying by.
Are you doing anything in Olympia? Are you participating at all?
I always assume that I'm, it's not like a contract where it's like ongoing, but it's always a partnership that's ongoing, right? So until they, tell me that I'm not doing it, I'll be doing it. I expect now to be a part of that Olympia fabric. I love I just love commentating. I love being
That's kind of what you found as kind of your way of giving back, but at the same time having some enjoyment about sitting and watching a bodybuilding contest. Because listen, I'll be honest, like sometimes it's hard for me to sit and watch these shows.
I don't know if I could sit. If I wasn't commentating, I would call you up and say, "Hey, you guys going?"
Yeah.
And if you guys said no, I say, "Well, where are you going to watch it at?" And we'd probably set up this and do a watch party. But there is something about watching a bodybuilding show, but I don't know if I could just sit there. I agree with you. I don't know if I could just sit there for the entire thing, because it is lengthy. In the audience, it's different when I'm watching from the screen and I'm, entertaining and providing analysis. I really do like that, though. I think I've gotten really good feedback from the fans, but also the people from the Arnold, like the guy that runs all the podcasts. I mean, the live stream. He came up to me. He's been in broadcast for over 40 years. He was like, "You have to keep doing this." Yeah. And I got the same from my boy Tim Wilkins, for the Olympia. So I really enjoy doing commentary. I would love to be able to expand and actually do other events. I've had some interest. I've been putting myself out there a little bit. Now I got more data, right? I got, so I can have like a sizzle reel.
Yeah.
To be fair, I would love to go on, you start seeing these other podcasts, and I think, legacy media is like dying.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way for, me to be a part of it, because I would love to take, not necessarily someone else's spot, but like I wouldn't mind doing like late night, like on Fox or one of these other channels, because I think I fill up a different demographic. I check some different boxes.
Yeah.
And I think right now, like, we need to see something that isn't always politicized. I think we're watching a lot of things that are just politics all the time. Even with podcasts, it just gets overwhelming with like, red versus blue, or who's in office and this and that. It's more like, can we just do like a little bit of that, have a little bit of comedic relief, and it can't come from a person that's in politics. Like, I'm not in politics. I could dabble in that, but I could talk to you about sports and other things. So I'm really more gearing over to that. Got some conversations to be had with some networks, and I'm really excited about that part, because going to the White House, like, actually really, it surprised a lot of people.
Probably opened your eyes too for a lot. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, it definitely opened my eyes, and look, I just want to do more for the country, but then also just, I'd love to be in broadcasting. I mean, if I could have a career in broadcasting, that'd be ideal. I think, like, I could rent a gym, I'd love to do that too. But like, when you talk about like broadcasting, I think podcasting is great, but like having like an array, like an actual show, that would be sick. Like just being in someone's home, talking about random stuff, interviewing people, kids, adults. I think that would be great. And we've seen people do it, and I don't know. I think there's an obligation for me right now. Like, I'm a bodybuilder. You're a bodybuilder. We got to do things that stretch us, right? Like, I never thought that you would have a podcast.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
not
now
a
you do
conversationist,
but you do it now.
Yeah,
you talk more now than you ever did.
I do. I mean, and to be honest, I mean, some days it's obviously easier than others. And guests, I mean, obviously we have a lot of history. And there's moments that it brings me alive because it brings the thought process back, which sometimes it's hard for me to tap into because I feel like I've passed on to a whole different aura of what I do now. Like I love bodybuilding, but it's not what makes me at this point. Like I don't watch a lot or engage myself a lot. Sometimes I'll put on some podcasts at night to fall asleep to, but I fall asleep within 3 minutes. So I don't get to see, I kind of catch a couple of things, but like I sent it to him last night. So what I was actually laying down in bed and I sent him a Lou Ferrigno podcast and I never seen Lou Ferrigno on a podcast before. So I was intrigued by it and I sent it to him and I'm like, man, he'd be a great guest to put on.
Yeah.
He was here in Vegas.
And I actually sent it
Pawn Stars.
I sent it to Steve Weinberger. Yeah, they have a podcast, which I didn't even know they had. But I sent it to Steve Weinberger because he always talked about that was his favorite growing up, was Ferrigno. So I sent it to him because I know he listens to all the podcasts. Like he actually enjoys it.
Who else do you listen to?
You know what? I don't.
Is it just like random?
I don't listen to a lot. I don't listen. I'm not involved in a lot of media stuff. He listens. I mean, he goes from everything from political to sports.
Yep.
I mean, I listen.
To investing
I
to
watch,
watches.
I watch Shannon Sharp stuff. I love Shannon Sharp's.
Shannon lives here too.
Yeah. But I enjoy,
Shannon, you live here?
Yeah.
He lives here. I know. He said look, last year when he was at the Olympia, he said he wanted Jay on his show.
Why don't you go?
He hasn't
just
reached
haven't
out.
heard, you know, just
Yeah.
you know,
It's always a timing thing too, you know. Yeah. Whenever
We'd love to get him here. I don't know if he would though,
you never know. You never know. I mean, it's tough now because
he just talks all day.
but yeah, and he blew up like the last 14 months. Insane.
He does that nightcap every night.
Dude, so what a great framework that he built.
Did for him.
He's building his own media company. I mean, literally owns his own media company now.
He trains at Torture.
Oh, okay. Just go sneak up there and be like, "What's up, fool?" But no, it's great to hear that, bro, because I'm very selective with how I view content. So of course I'm biased. I watch you guys because you guys bring people on. You guys you'll have
we talk about you a lot though, and we always talk about the record. And Phil, I don't think and I kind of want to end it with this. Is I feel like you've gotten a lot more respect lately because it's one of those things where I felt like you were, you had a lot of resistance because you had I don't want to say your nemesis. I don't know how to say this properly, but you had the guy that was second that a lot of people cheered on.
Yes.
So like you kind of, it must have been frustrating for you at certain moments because there was a lot of people cheering for him.
That'd be very rigid.
And it kind of took from your moments, right?
Yeah.
And you were kind of a little rough sometimes with your responses. Which is your direct. If people know you, your demeanor is more. You say sometimes what you feel,
right?
Which isn't a bad thing,
right?
I mean, you were an athlete, so you were you kind of pushed back like you were coached.
Yes.
There's no one that in this industry that probably came from the coaching background that you had coming up with the career you had in basketball, leading into bodybuilding, being as great, like we talk about, coming out of the gate at third at the Olympia first time, and like we knew you'd be a star. I said you'd be a star from day one.
Yes, sir.
But you won 7 Olympias, probably more dominant than any Mr. Olympia ever. I just asked you, were you ever behind?
No.
I can tell you, Ronnie Coleman was behind in 2001 after prejudging.
Yep.
And there were a lot of could-have, should-haves, but I don't feel a lot of people, if you look at the scope of our media around bodybuilding, say that Phil Heath should have lost that one.
No. They don't
even an Arnold that you kind of feel that you got taken a little bit. I was there. I congratulated you. I sat and watched it, and I said congratulations, and I jinxed you.
It's Jay's fault.
Yeah. But there wasn't. But that people will respect this, and I want people to listen to what I'm saying because we talk about this time and time and time again. We talked about it with Milos. You are very dominant in your reign. Yeah. And you're always on point. You always get down to business and you work. Granted, you had unbelievable genetics. We also argue who had the greatest genes of all time. People say Ronnie Coleman because he was able to build that for crazy physique.
Who's the top 3? Ronnie Coleman, Cormier, myself, maybe? I'd say Cormier because of the fact that, like, I look at guys like him and I thought he had really good genetics.
We always talk about, because people look at who the greatest is, and listen, people have their thoughts of, is it Arnold, is it Ronnie, is Flex Wheeler? Like, he had great genes too.
He did.
Yeah. Hey, we talk about him. Probably you.
Yeah,
Cormier's in there too.
Cormier would be up there too, but I think Ronnie. Yeah. But listen, it all comes down to what you're recognized at, and like, we're so happy that you're back involved more than ever now, and that's kind of the point. We talked about, we'll get you back on because of the demonetization, if that's a word.
It is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saved our curse words until like 30 minutes in,
7-time Mr. Olympia, 2-time demonetized.
Yeah, right.
So we're just happy that we feel like now you're more engaged, more involved, and that's why it's just great that you were able to come here and like spend time with us and just.
Anytime, man.
You were kind of absent for a little bit, like where you just kind of took a step back. You weren't traveling as much. The last couple of years you were competing.
Oh,
like you weren't doing as many appearances and stuff. You were just kind of.
Oh, you talking about
when you were competing?
Talking about from 2018 to 2020?
Like 2016, 17, like you weren't doing as many appearances.
Yeah, I was just getting paid to stay at home.
Yeah.
To be honest.
No, that's what I mean. Like you weren't like, we didn't see you every other week like we always did.
No, and also a lot of promoters weren't paying guest posers.
Yeah.
It was in that point in time, it wasn't I don't think it was by choice. I think it was just the fact that like the market, man, like I think I had a reputation of the fact that like Phil charged a lot of money. And we just don't have
that,
Yeah, Matt was one of the culprits of that shit, but hey, I appreciate you guys. I'll come down here anytime I'm in town, and I'm I was up your ass, I was up his ass, like, hey, we're gonna make this happen, bro.
Well, we wanted to do it at the Arnold, and I mean, if it didn't happen here, we would have done it at FIBO because we're traveling with our.
Oh yeah, we're now a traveling operation now.
Maybe we can grab you over there just to get some insight, because there's a bodybuilding show at FIBO this year. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, because Dennis James put it on, right?
I think he's
a part of it.
Part of it, but
there's a FIBO.
I know we have someone that lives in Las Vegas that's competing in that contest.
What day is that? Is that like
we have no idea?
I'm not sure.
We're just there.
And earlier,
I assume Saturday night.
The other night he had.
That would be nice if it was Saturday, so then we can go and watch it, and then go to the expo the next day, and then fly home that Monday, right? Yeah, because
when do we fly home?
Monday.
Okay, yeah.
Actually, this time it's nice. We didn't have a 6 a.m. because last year we had to go there the night before and spend the night because we had a 6 a.m. flight. And we flew out of Frankfurt instead of Cologne, and you're not waking up at 3 a.m.
Bro, I should have told you. I got through our boy Fly King.
Yeah, you go right into Cologne, right?
Yeah, we
ran into a huge problem in Cologne, bro.
Oh yeah, because your bags
lost our bags.
Yeah, but
you can't.
Also, leaving there was tough.
It was a nightmare. They lost our bags, and the problem is when you get to Cologne, there's nobody you can talk to. So you have to go to a wall and scan this and fill it. There's no one you can speak to. So one of the guys knew a police officer, and he walked us like down some back way, and then we got in a room, and he's like, "Help these guys, otherwise we'd have been completely screwed."
Wow!
And it was his merch.
That's no money.
And remember, I have a crew there.
Yeah,
Izzo and the guys, so they sell the merch, and so I'm, while I'm doing meet and greet, they're kind of on.
So now we're going into Frankfurt with one layover, and that's it.
Yeah, I think I fly to Chicago, then to London.
Yeah, that's what we would have had to do,
and then straight in. And normally I'd never do 2 stops, but I was like, from Detroit to Chicago is nothing.
Yeah,
and then it's like an hour flight, and then like a 2-hour layover, which is kind of annoying, but who cares? I'm going to sleep the whole day.
We'll be there, and so we'll
hang out.
We get in Wednesday, Thursday,
which is cool. So we've been trying to get this done. So thank you for making it happen. Yeah. I'm so proud. We posted up this White House thing. I was so proud of that moment. I don't know if you saw it over social media.
No, you guys did me a very good service.
We were pretty happy that you didn't have to take the jacket off and show Trump what's up.
Next time, we'll do the.
Yeah. Well, that's right. He loves that. You
love that there?
I do that all the time. Absolutely.
Yeah, he puts he has a
the little lava head.
He puts it on the pictures.
Yeah, when you do a storyline, if someone's doing something ridiculous, you put the little Trump guy, a little shimmy.
Was his kid did the same thing, on the inauguration.
No, don't you remember when John Jones won?
Yes, that's right.
John Jones did it. John Jones did it, dude. I'm telling you, I was at the inauguration. Everybody was doing it.
Yeah.
It was wild, man. But no, thanks for having me, guys. You guys are, y'all like family, so I'll come through anytime. And it seems like we always end up uncovering a new story. It's just, we got too many.
Are we going to get a bunch of hate from this one?
No.
If we did, this problem is with them. You know? Because these are rare moments, and I'm just glad that we get to have them.
And we're out.
Thanks.
That was dope.